Do you like yourself?
Yes.
Have you always?
No. About 2 weeks before I quit my job, I tore my ACL.
Yeah, because you were authentic with somebody that you were questioning, it led you to a moment where now you're with your person.
Mom's in remission. Dad's had a couple surgeries. He's doing well. My little brother's off to college. My older brother's been sober. Family's in great shape. Now Chad was starting to suffer. 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Wednesday.
Classic time to be drunk driving. Chad Richman.
Yes, sir.
Welcome to Naturally Curious, brother.
Thanks for having me.
How you doing today?
Good.
What's going on in your life?
A lot, but at the same time, not a lot.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I quit my job. It would be about 2 months ago now. And about 2 weeks before I quit my job, I tore my ACL.
It was 2 weeks before.
2 weeks before.
But you knew it was torn before you quit, or you?
No, I did not.
Okay.
So, yeah. I mean, basically, let's rewind to the new year. At the last few years, really the last 5 years, like I've spent time trying to figure out like who is Chad, who am I, what do I want to do, and uncovering the parts of my personality, the things that I like to do, and really diving deep into me. I've been single, and I've been consistently going to therapy for probably close to 4 years now, and like diving deeper into different things, and all the way to traumas and such. And so for the last, call it 2-3 years, at the end of the year, I've finally started to kind of, do a bit of reflection, do some goal setting, journal, reflect on the year, reflect on the things that I've learned, reflect on some goals, change some goals. This year in particular, as I turned 30, I wanted to do kind of a reflection on my 20s. And so I actually started, and I haven't really completed it, but I started and went all the way back and basically blocked the times in my 20s that I felt, were kind of different eras. So the kind of coming out of college era from 20 to 23 years old where, I could legally drink and and you remember the time.
I don't remember the time. That's the thing.
Yeah, and I don't remember the time either. But certainly it was kind of my party days, and I got it out of my system. I grew up in a very kind of censored, sheltered household, so I didn't drink before I went to college. So college for me was buck wild.
Where'd you go to college?
I went to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. So from Los Angeles originally. Went up to Cal Poly, joined a fraternity.
What fraternity?
I was in Theta Chi.
Adds up.
What were you?
I was in SAE.
SAE? Yeah, we didn't. SAE got kicked off before.
Classic.
Greek life was very tumultuous when I was there. So got involved in Greek life, joined the water ski team, was captain of the water ski team, executive for the fraternity. Classic myself. I kind of got too involved with too many things too quickly and ended up switching majors. Ended up kind of falling out of the fraternity, really. I basically went inactive to it. When I turned 21, I was like, this is something I...
That was your senior year?
That would have been my fourth year. Yeah, the start of my fourth year. So I did 5 because I completely switched majors, switched out of colleges, and so I lost my whole freshman year, basically.
Yeah.
So I did a full 5. 4th and 5th year, I wasn't involved in the fraternity anymore. I was actually really involved with my major. I was a captain of an academic team. And graduated college, still just prime of my life in terms of having fun and chasing the next big thing.
Where was your head at graduating college? Did you feel the pressure that I now need to get a job? I want to continue having fun? What was the shift like going from, especially because I feel like we're similar in the way college was such a good time, fraternity life, maybe you were veering off the end points anyway. But were you, all right, let me hit the real world running, let me get a job, let me start settling into who I am? What was that adjustment like?
I did kind of hit the real world running pretty hard because my major, the program that I was in and the fact that I was captain of an academic team was the opportunities that we had were pretty much endless. I had probably 10 job offers before I left college. And so I did 5 different internships, a full range of spectrum. I worked for a development company, I worked for a construction management firm, I worked for multiple commercial general contractors, and that was just the resources that we had available to us.
What made you go with that education? And what made you, is that what you wanted to do at that point in your life?
No, actually it's funny. So, rewind to fraternity. I started college as a history major. I had no idea what I wanted to do at 18 years old. I picked history because Cal Poly makes you declare before you show up, and you literally start your major classes as soon as you get there.
Nice. I was going to go for that thing.
Yeah. So,
History, early onset republicanism.
Well, my dad was criminal judge, so I was like, okay, I'll go pre-law, and I thought maybe I would go to law school.
Yeah.
Just because that's what I knew. I was growing up. So started history very quickly in the very first quarter. I was like, not for me.
Why?
It's just kind of boring. Like, I loved history as a subject growing up, but it didn't stimulate me. I wasn't very fulfilled. Also, at 18 years old, I don't think that there was much that could stimulate me or fulfill me. I was
an 18-year-old boy, like, I'm not sitting in a classroom.
Yeah, I mean, I turned 18 a month before I went to college, because I'm very young for my grade. So I turned 18 a month before I went to college. Not even, less than a month. And, I mean, I cannonballed into college party life. You know, it was nothing that I was ever exposed to. And so, like, once I was exposed to it, once I was free, it was like, okay, balls to the wall, and then immediately was like, okay, I got to start reining this in, and I got to do it. And that whole freshman year was just a blur of, like, you know, I was being exposed to everything. Everything, every night, anytime. And so when I started joining the fraternity, something that you have to do in the fraternity is you have to interview. I don't know if you guys did this. You have to interview, like, when you're a pledge, you have to interview the active brothers, and you had to do like a certain amount each week. So I went to interview my buddy Mitch, who ended up being a big mentor for me. And the interview, he's like, hey, come down to the construction management building. I had never been down there. And construction management at Cal Poly is so sick. Like, it's all of the pizzazz at that school. And everyone knows that. So I go down there, and I'm a freshman, so I don't know any better. And we have what's called the Simpson Strong Tie Hangar. Essentially this huge hangar laboratory that we would build tiny homes, and we would do metal stud framing, and we do electric, and the different labs that you would do, you would actually physically build components and understand the process of construction. So the hangar doors are open, they're grilling tri-tip on this, you know, Santa Maria barbecue. He's sitting at this table, guys are hooting and hollering and coming out of their labs, and I was like, what is this? What is this building, and what is this space, and what is this? And essentially the whole interview ended up being like, this is what I do, this is my degree, this is what I'm going to do. And I literally walked into the department head's office that next Monday and was like, what do I need to do to switch into this? And basically didn't look back until this started this year. And I went all in on construction. I was a project manager. I worked in commercial. Then I ended up working in high-end residential. So I was building custom homes for essentially the last decade. Project manager. I pretty much saw the ceiling for the level that I was at, unless I wanted to start my own business. And I have enough experience that I can actually go out and get my contractor's license and start my own business.
Did you consider that?
I did consider it. My dad actually always has kind of tried to steer me in that direction. And he said, just, you know, all of the issues and the gripes that I had with clients and bosses, he's just like, just start your own thing and just do it yourself. Yeah. But the reality is the market, at least between Los Angeles and San Diego, which has been the last 8 years of my career for custom home building, you're at the mercy of two things. You're at the mercy of the clientele that can afford the type of stuff that we did. I mean, I was managing $25 million worth of work between two houses, a remodel and then a new house, and all by myself. No, I had no support. So you're at the mercy of your clients, the people that can actually afford to do something like that. Yeah. Which, to put it simply, just not the greatest people. Yeah. And it's very thankless. Yeah. You know, it's kind of like, I'm just going to throw money at the issue. Why isn't it go faster? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they want everything. I mean, these people travel the world, and they're getting wood woven elephants that were in Central Park, you know, that were millions of dollars as you know, outdoor furniture pieces. I'm sourcing wood planks from Belgium. That's like the type of, you know, go out into the forest, pick your tree, cut it down.
Is that exciting to you, or is that?
It was extremely fulfilling because it was really challenging, that pulled at like the type of person that I am, because it's like a puzzle that you always got to put together. Things are always going wrong. And so it's like, how do I make it work? How do I mess with this budget that I've created and manipulated in a way to kind of make it work? And you know, you cushion the blows, you have some wins. There's just so much going on every single day, all the time. Every single day is like a new challenge, and there's a problem every single day. But also too, that's like extremely stressful, and I'm the kind of person, I finally realized in my personality that like I apply myself so hard to my work ethic, to whatever that I do, that the stress that I was inducing on myself was not good for me long term. just plain and simple. Like I was like, this is just not something that I can manage long term. And I even asked my most recent boss, I said, is this sustainable? Because like I would take it home with me. I could never turn it off. It was something that I worked through in the towards Q3, Q4 last year. I was working through my therapist. The only issues in my life that I had, I was so content with my relationships, with my friends, my family. I'd been working on setting boundaries for the last few years, and then also understanding what do I need, whether that's extroverted social time with people or my introverted solitude where I need to recharge my batteries. I knew all that. And so when I was doing reflection at the end of the year and I sat and I wrote it down, the only cancerous things in my life I could point to was work. And so I'm the kind of person, okay, remove the variable or change the variable.
Which not a lot of people do, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote and I actually put a silent goal out. I think it was probably started Q4 last year that I basically said to myself, I want to have a new job within the year. I didn't say I want to quit my job. I said I want to have a new job. It means I might have 2 jobs, could have 3 jobs, but I want to have a new job.
Side hustle, something.
Something.
To back up a little bit, because you were talking about the reflection of your 20s, right? You recently turned 30, and I think that's an incredible exercise that I'm going to steal from you at some point in the near future. But what changed? What was some of the biggest changes you saw from 20 to 30 in terms of you just spent a decade in this career? Most people comfortable, probably making a stable income, all these variables, there's stress and people start to just accept that. For you, what was the difference where you were like, I'm going to change it because if I don't now, I never will? And what was the shift of when I first started this thing? I walked into that room in college, I was like, this is what I want to do. Was year 1, you're like, this is still what I want to do. Year 4 was like, I still want to do this. Year 8 was like, Like, what was that actual mental shift like for you over that course of time?
So college was sick. College was like, we had all the resources. It was basically a company that came every single day, sometimes 2 companies a day, that would feed us lunch and they'd give us their spiel, and they were recruiting interns and full-time people. And so like if you're of last year and you're looking for a job, you basically could just interview every single day at different companies. So the resources that I had was amazing. Being the captain of the academic team, so it's called ASC, Associated Schools of Construction. My 5th year, I took over the team for a gal, and she basically she made me go join the team, and then just handed me the team. I didn't have a choice. And after I competed the first year, I was hooked just because.
What is the team?
So what you do is they have competitions. It's actually technically international, but you break all of the United States into a bunch of different regions. I think our region is 6 and 7, and so the national championship is in Reno every single year, but they have all these different regions, and we could travel around. I took my team to Chicago, and I literally had to make a presentation to the department and say, here's a problem, I want to take my team and compete in this problem. And what it is a real company sponsors this problem, and they create this fictitious problem that usually is a project that they've built. And so they pick the project, there's all sorts of logistics and budgeting, and depending upon whatever you do, my team was risk mitigation. So we essentially do an assessment of a project. They give us a number of deliverables. You break into your team, we look through contracts, and you're looking at language, and you're looking at all the participles that make up this project. And then you basically say, I'm going to come back to executives and give a presentation of why we should or should not pursue this project because of the assessment that we've done. And we went to Chicago. We were on the verge of placing, but we missed one deliverable.
What was it?
I can't remember exactly what deliverable it was, but we just didn't get in time. And the judges literally told us that they were like, if you had got that one deliverable in, you were guaranteed place. It was just you lost so many points from not getting that deliverable in. And so I learned that lesson, that when I took us to the national championship, I was like, we're not missing a single thing. Even if it's not done, get it in.
Yeah.
So Chicago had a big impression on me. There was an executive that was on the board that, when we did our interview process as a team, that I was like, this is somebody. This is a VP for some company. And so actually I approached him afterwards, and I basically was like, hey, can I get your business card? And he's like, not until we do the results. And you actually figure out, it's like after all the formalities of the competition are over.
Yeah.
And so I ended up, they flew me out to do a job interview. He was an executive for Turner, which Turner is kind of the prominent stadium builder. They did SoFi, and they were doing a renovation in Soldier Field at the time. And I went out and interviewed. I got a job offer from them. They didn't end up having one in Chicago. So the like last second, literally the day I was flying out, they're like, hey, by the way, we don't have positions in Chicago. This position would actually be in Detroit. And I was like, dude, I don't know anybody in the Midwest. Like, there's no way I'm going to do that.
So that was a determining factor for you?
Yeah, but I mean, I was literally at the airport. And so I was like, well, I'm still going to come and do the interview.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wasn't going to take something in Detroit. So through college, like my career path was like very firm and it felt awesome. Like how you felt as a student was like, wow, I made a really good choice and I'm going to make so much money.
Yeah, but that's all simulations. That's all.
100%.
This is what you may run into in the actual, right? It's not
100%.
Hands-on. You're dealing with human beings. You're dealing with like actual bosses.
It's not real. So where it turned quite literally, my very first day working full-time when I graduated. So Mitch, the kid who was in my fraternity who got me, I ended up working full-time for the company that he was working for when I left. And so I had an internship with them. That's who I ended up signing with. Day one showed up, my senior project manager, they give me my laptop. They say, here's the project that you're going to be on. They sit me down and they say, and it was like they all had this conversation that I wasn't privy to. And they're like, oh yeah, no, he can do it. He's single.
And you haven't.
And I'm like, what are you guys talking about? And they're like, well, so this project that we're going to do is in an occupied building. So the whole build needs to be done on off hours between 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. That's when people need to be actually building because it's occupied during the day. It was on the Google campus. So they're like, we want you to be that night engineer that is working all through the night. And they assumed I was single and I was able to do that. I actually got in a relationship towards the end of my 5th year. So I was like, no, that doesn't really work for me. And they were willing to compensate me extra to do that position. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, that sounds like.
So that was day one. And honestly, like hindsight looking back now, that was the turning point of where I decided like, okay, this is probably not for me, because I worked that job in the Bay Area for 8 months.
So you took that job or you didn't?
I was working on that job, but I was working during the day. And so I would work with the Google executives because everybody worked during the day. And then what happened is once the project got rolling, we had an engineer during the day, an engineer that was kind of a swing engineer. They worked partially in the day so that they could get information from the people that work in the day. And then they would overlap with an engineer at night. Mm-hmm. So 3 engineers. I ended up being the middle engineer where I was working like 3 in the afternoon to like 2 in the morning, which was terrible. And so
yeah, that sounds almost worse.
It was brutal. And so I did 8 months of that job full time, and then I had some family stuff that was going on. Mom, dad, little brother, older brother, literally everyone. And everyone was in Los Angeles. And I basically approached the company and said, look, I need to move home. I need to be there to support my family. My mom was dealing with chemo treatment for breast cancer. It was her 2nd bout. They misdiagnosed her. My dad has AFib, so he was going through several heart surgeries, and also he's just generally kind of a stressful person. His job's stressful, being a criminal judge.
How old were you for this point?
I was
23?
22.
Yeah, 22 probably.
Probably just turned 23. I was 23. And this was 2019.
And what was your health journey like up until this point? Because I'm curious, obviously, that's probably where we're going to get into towards the end of what you're getting into now. But you're 22, you're in the workforce, money may or may not be your mindset. I feel like that's kind of where a lot of people come out of college. And then you're seeing some health issues arise within your parents, and reality is striking and people are getting older and you're gone from the family. What was that turning point like going back home?
Yeah. I felt I was in a great place at that point. So I rewind to 2013. I broke my back my senior year of high school. So I broke my back snowboarding. It was compression fracture, my L1 vertebrae. It doesn't grow back fully. It didn't move out of place. Thankfully, it was non-surgical. But my vertebrae is permanently smaller. I'm actually permanently shorter because of that.
I was going to say something about that.
Yeah. So broke my back senior year. I ended up salvaging half of my baseball season. It ruined my opportunity to play collegiate ball, and frankly rushed back just because I wanted to play and I was young.
Yeah.
So I ended up having my freshman year of high school or of college. I had to do a pretty extensive PT regimen because I ended up having a regression where I was having all sorts of back spasms and issues, and so I went back to PT when I was up in San Luis Obispo. So I was actually really fearful through the first couple years of college of loading my back, running a lot, doing a lot of things that I was used to doing. And I had a buddy in college that was like studying to become a physician's assistant, and he got me over my fear essentially. And so my third and my fourth year is really when I flipped that switch of like, okay, I want to continue this upward trajectory of being the most healthy I could possibly be. Like continually evolving in every sort of sense, lifting more, running more, doing everything. So now at this point, when I move back home, I settle into a new routine, I get a new job. That's when I made a shift from commercial construction into residential construction, which I always wanted to do. And I used, I leveraged the opportunity to like figure that out. And that's when it kind of started really kicking off my modern day fitness journey to where I really started training. I mean, you know how I train, kind of out the box. I love being really creative. I love figuring out new ways to push my body. So I started to do that. I was a Bay Club member for probably 5 years or so. And a massive, beautiful facility in El Segundo. If you haven't heard of it, you gotta go. It's an amazing gym. And that's kind of what started my modern journey. I was training super hard. People would come up to me in the gym like, what are you training for? and I mean, it still happens all the time today. And I was like, nothing,
I mean, your whole personality and your whole story and journey is outside of the box already.
Yeah.
And that's the approach. I feel like you're aware of that. So everybody else in the gym that's doing the same shit and not seeing any results, and they're coming up to you like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, what are you doing? Why? So finally one day I was like, all right, like let me apply this to something. Let me do something. Let me sign up for a race or do something. So I started swimming a little bit more then. I started running a little bit more then, in addition to all the lifting and all the other resistance training that I was doing. And so I said, all right, I'm going to do a triathlon. And so I actually completely picked up cycling. Had never road cycled ever in my life before. Completely picked it up. I had buddies that I grew up with in high school that worked at bike shops, so I had all the resources available.
I think that's upside down.
Is it?
Yeah. Audio should still be fine, but... picked up cycling.
So I picked up cycling, and I made my whole regimen. I literally started from scratch, where I was just like, I'm going to do all my own planning. I want to maintain resistance training. I tried to maintain resistance training like 5 days a week. I did it way too long.
That's exactly what I did.
Put my whole regimen together for triathlon training. So as far as brick training, when I'm swimming, when I'm doing this, doing some open water swimming, all my dieting. And it was just an evolutionary process of how I was learning. I was like, oh, I'm training so much, I can eat so much. I was doing research. AI was not a thing then. So like this was literally just all off the dome and doing as much research as I could possibly do. Plus I'm working a full-time 9-to-5 job, trying to work my way up the corporate ladder.
That's a great topic to get into too at some point.
So I initially thought I was going to do a sprint triathlon. I was in my training regimen. I did a brick one day where I did the bike, I did the swim and the run, and then like the bike, or I did all three within the course of like 12 hours, and I was like, this is not hard enough. I'm not pushing myself in the degree that I wanted to. So I decided to go for the full Olympic triathlon. So I picked my race. This is now 2020, March 1st, 2020, in La Quinta, so in Palm Springs. Did my race, learned a ton. I literally, by the time I hit the run, there was like a crazy like cyclone windstorm. Half the people didn't do the swim. Half the people who did the swim didn't finish the swim. The buoys blew off the lake. So I swam, and the lifeguards eventually were just like, turn around, like go back. Like you've already done as much of the swim as you're supposed to do. The loop on the bike was like two of the directions was just a crazy headwind. And this is early season, so a lot of like the Ironman contenders came there, and it was just a tune-up race to just get their legs under them. So I did the race. 18 days later, the whole world shut down, COVID, which thank God, because I remember talking to people at the race, like there was some buzz of like, oh my gosh, you hear about this thing? And if that race had been canceled for all the training and stuff that I'd done, I would have been absolutely devastated.
Yeah.
So did the race. COVID shut the world down. So now no racing. No, everything was up in the air. You remember what that experience was like. And so from that point until today has basically been injury after injury after injury, or just unfortunate, unlucky circumstance. My bike that I had at the time was stolen on a ride. Like I locked it up, go into a shop, someone cuts the lock, bike's gone.
So what was the time in between you walking in and coming out?
15 minutes.
Where?
In LA, like Sawtelle area, it's almost Santa Monica.
Yeah.
Bike's gone. This is peak supply chain had plummeted COVID time, so I couldn't get a new bike. And picking up cycling as a part of triathlon training was actually the best thing that ever happened to me. I love cycling, and so it was like this massive this hobby. I was riding every single day.
What was your initial feeling when you walked outside and the bike was
crushed?
Yeah,
I was like, "There's no way." They even took the lock they cut. Like they didn't leave the lock. Everything was gone. And so, bike gets stolen. I can't get a new bike. So now fast forward, because we're past 2022, July 20th, 2022. I get in a car accident. Drunk driver hits me head on. I'm going from my job site to my office.
What time?
3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Wednesday.
Classic time to be drunk driving.
And literally, like, I'm in the number 1 lane going north. He's in the number 2 lane, excuse me. He's in the number 1 lane going south.
Did you see the car coming at you?
Oh, yeah.
What was your thought?
45 miles an hour, each of us. And he literally, right at the last second, I mean, it's like Final Destination. He turned right at me, and my whole world stopped for a second. And the thought that went through my head.
So you were next to each other, and
we were parallel, running in 2 different directions. And so he just turned right into me.
Oh fuck, dude.
And my thought, like my whole world stopped and froze for a second, and my thought to myself was, does this person know who I am, and is this intentional? Because that's how it felt. Like, it didn't make any sense that this person would just turn in the way that he did. And so whole world stops, bang, didn't lose consciousness. Like, my sunglasses came off my face, airbag hits him into my forehead. The door airbag goes off and burns my arm. My engine compartment's open, smoke coming into my cab. I'm immediately in shock. There's a guy outside. It seemed like he was just instantly outside. He had hit me kind of like a 45-degree angle and pushed me up onto the curb, and literally my passenger side wheels both sheared and went underneath my truck. And I drive a truck, and it looked like a dinosaur had taken a bite out of like the whole front part of my engine. My driver's side wheel was almost in my cab. So I crawl out, because he hit me on the driver's side. I asked the guy to help me. I crawl out of the passenger side. I had actually hit the brake with my right foot. So my right foot like took the whole load and like just bent it backwards.
Broke?
It didn't break. I had a really bad bone bruise and a really bad sprain. But I was in shock, and my car was smoking. There's oil spewing everywhere. I thought my truck was going to explode. I know that they're safety rated, that there would never been a thing. But I'm freaking out.
I mean, I would think it would be a thing. I've seen plenty of movies.
Well, and I was freaking out. I was like, I gotta get away from here. Yeah. Like, my truck's gonna explode. So I'm hopping away on my left foot, just like and I'm just hopping down. Just hopping down the street. And so I sit down, and the guy comes out, and he was really apologetic, but he was getting super close to me, and he's like, I'm so sorry. Like, look, like I'm bleeding too. I'm like, dude, I was like, get away from me.
Yeah.
And I was like, why did you do that? And he's like, oh, I was fighting with my girlfriend. And I'm like, what? And he goes to his car. He takes his iPad.
Was his car absolutely?
Oh yeah, it was crushed. He had a BMW X3, so it's kind of like the mid-size SUV. Mm-hmm. He comes and sits next to me. He's like just furiously sending messages on his iPad, and I'm just like, dude, get away from me.
Fucking killed me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the LAPD comes first. We were in El Segundo, so it wasn't his jurisdiction. He's like, I can't really do anything. I'm just here for like traffic control and wait until like the ambulance gets here. Ambulance gets there. They do an assessment. I really wasn't visibly in that bad a shape.
Well, your adrenaline's also probably through the roof. So.
Yep. And so they're like, I was like, my ankles, I'm hopping on my foot. So they put ice and they wrap my ankle, and they were basically like, hey, we can drive you to the hospital, but like, you're gonna pay for an ambulance ride to drive to the hospital, or you can call somebody and have them go. So like, called my best friend, and he was working at Cedars-Sinai in Marina Del Rey, and he was also in construction.
What is that? Oh, okay.
There's a hospital. So he came and picked me up and took me to the hospital, and I was living with him at the time. So he takes me to the hospital. They do x-rays of my chest, nothing. I think they did x-rays of my ankle as well. I had, like I said, the burn from the airbag, but nothing visibly. I mean, even the nurses, they looked under my shirt and they were like, were you wearing a seatbelt? Yeah. And they're like, how fast were you going? And I was like, we were both going 45 miles an hour. And she's like, there's no bruising. She's like, don't expect that you'll have like this sternum bruising over, the course of the next few weeks or so. And I was like, okay. And I leave. Before I left the crash, I told the police, I said, check him for sobriety, because It was an inexplainable.
Did you think he was drunk when he was talking to you?
I had a suspicion. I mean, again, I was in shock.
Yeah.
So I had a suspicion because he was getting really close to me, you know, like a drunk person would do, like being like, and he was like super apologetic, and I didn't necessarily smell anything. I don't remember smelling anything, but my intuition was telling me like something's off. So I told them to check him before I left, and they called me at the hospital and said he's been arrested for a DUI. Okay.
What was your initial emotion after that? Pissed?
No, honestly, no, because in the moment it's like it's done, it's happened. I mean, I was there, and I mean. That was the scariest moment of my life, no doubt. I thought I was gonna die. You know, everything stopped. I know, like when people say, like, you know, your whole life flashes before your eyes, it really truly does. Everything, it went to 0 miles an hour for a quick second. Were just flashes of so much I couldn't even tell you went through my head. But there was also just a survival instinct of like, I remember thinking like, do I undercut this guy to miss him? You know, like just cut inside and then he just go this way? But there was not enough time. Just
that
bang,
initial,
bang.
well, I'm sure your head goes to all the things you could have done differently.
100%.
Yeah.
So, no, I wasn't really filled with a bunch of anger. And it's interesting that you asked that question because, so we found out later on, we get the police report, you know, obviously there's criminal charges for the DUI. I'm going to sue him. When we get the report, we find out that guy is like a weatherman in Los Angeles. And my mom actually like deep dove into figuring out like who is this guy, when's his time slot, and like sending me videos of like, here's the guy in his time slot. And I didn't like to see that. Like I didn't care. Honestly, I have not engaged with nor looked up or done anything with this guy since the accident.
Yeah, but it's almost like, wouldn't you want to not humanize somebody that did something like that? I mean, it sounds like all things went, for as terrible as they were, could have been worse.
Yes, 100%. 100%. Because, like I said, no visible injuries for myself. But you have to keep diving down the rabbit hole. So I had...
emotionally, too, everything. I mean, yeah.
Well, and so, you had asked about my state physically and also mentally. Up until that point, I felt I was good in both. I had dealt with the family trauma and the things that they were dealing with. Then this thing happens to me. And finally, now I'm having my first mental struggles. Because
how did that... So I don't want to cut you off, but I have a question, and I think this is kind of the route you're going anyway. But up until this point, it's my belief that things happen to people. You lose a loved one, near-death experience. There's something that needs to shock you out of reality for you to shift everything. And I feel like this moment is that for you, where it's almost a near-death experience, but it shifts what you appreciate, what you don't. You see your life flash before your eyes, what matters, what doesn't, what's important to you, what do you love, what do you hate.
100%.
All these things come rushing in.
100%, yeah. I mean, I saw death.
Yeah.
And so instantly it was, oh, hey, like, it was kind of like, what am I doing? Where am I at? And inherently, I was stuck at home for a couple of weeks. I worked the whole time. I just worked remote. But naturally, I was like, where do we go from here? What do I do? So obviously, you have to kind of go down the like medical rabbit hole of like, what happened? I need to do an assessment. So we get MRIs on my back. It turns out I have, and this wasn't all at the same time. I did MRIs of my ankle. I did MRIs of my lumbar because my lumbar is where I hurt myself previously. So we identified herniated disc L4, L5, L5, S1. And then later on down the road, I also found herniated disc C6, C7. So started PT. I was doing 6 months of PT. And then now it became full physical and mental assessment of where are we at and what are we doing? And so 2022, now I'm 25, 26. And so that's where looking back at my 20s, I could break them into these distinct times. Like, yes, this thing happened to me. And that's kind of the point in my life where I decided it's time to make a shift. It's leaving behind the college frat fun, even post-college Chad.
Did it change the way you viewed life at the same time, though? Like, was what was important to you change?
Yes, 100%. I mean, that's what it was I realized, like, look, I don't care about partying or, kind of going after the next dopamine hit, like all my friends were doing. We were going to a lot of music festivals and, a lot of concerts and things. And I just decided, like, look, my health is genuinely what means most to me in my life. And I'd seen, obviously, all sorts of issues with my family, my parents. So not only my parents, but my brothers. My older brother had dealt with alcoholism for over a decade. So at that point in time in life, I made a shift that I think I'm very much continuing today, that I think I'm trending in a direction to where I'm never going to drink ever again. Like I've really, really cut it out. It's very minimal in my life.
How long has it been?
Since I made that decision?
Well, like since you've had a drink, I guess. That's an intentional thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, when I moved to San Diego, I had started a new thing where if it's a weekend, right, and people are kind of going out and doing a weekend, like I wouldn't drink on Friday, no matter what. It's just not an option. Don't drink on Friday. And at this point now, I'm pretty much once a month is what I would tell my friends that I'm good for. And even still, it's like, you know, I'm cool going out and having 1 or 2 drinks, and I make sure I have 2 or 3 hours on the back end where that drink goes through my system and I'm not worrying about it.
And is that the health side of things that you're so much more concerned about? Or is it?
Yeah. I consciously switched in that moment in time, because once you're hurt, and at that point it was like I had these back issues that when I was doing therapy, it was like, I need to tackle thoracic this week because that's what's bugging me. I need to tackle cervical because that's what's bugging me. I'd never had neck issues before. It bleeds over into sleep, then it bleeds over into your life, and you're getting headaches at work, and you're looking at computer screens, and it's just this vicious cycle.
Yeah. Quality of life.
Quality of life. And then now is where we start to see the work shift, because it was like, it pointed out to me that, like, one, I'm really passionate about health and being fit and fitness in general. And I realized, like, oh, my work, you know, this is not helping me. I was, you know, that's when I was realizing, I was starting to assume more responsibility. This is about the time when I got promoted to a project manager, so I'm managing my own workloads.
Why were you doing it at this point? What was the point of working? Money? Was it?
Yeah. Survival.
That was it, though.
That's it.
There was no passion in that game, or there was?
No, I was really, really fading because I was in LA, and my boss. So COVID put a huge toll on construction. It was really hard. And it was a big toll on my boss at the time. And so I'm kind of like seeing some writing on the wall. Like, our company was super small, and my boss was really unengaged. And I was kind of like, are we like closing shop? Yeah. So I basically, no. And because I worked all the financials at a project level, and it's all cost plus fee contracting. I knew how much money we were making, at least at a project level, and so that was never a concern. But I approached him, and I was basically like, look, you haven't been very engaged. And I was at a point where it's like, it's a crossroads of, do I continue this path and take it to the next level? Because I want someone that's going to invest in me to take it to the next level. That's my personality. Or are you closing up shop? Should I go look for other opportunities? So, you know, the shift had already started. And then at this point, talking about health and lifestyle, I realized Los Angeles was not the place for me. The only thing that had kept me in the game in LA was the fact that my family was there. And so we've gone now from 2019 to 2022, 2023. Mom's in remission. Dad's had a couple surgeries. He's doing well. My little brother's off to college. My older brother's been sober. Family's in great shape. Now Chad was starting to suffer. Now I was starting to realize.
Do you think all those things, though, were distractions for you to not have to worry about yourself?
100%.
And then once all that was starting to iron itself out, it's like, well, fuck, what do I want?
100%.
Yeah.
And it as it should have been. There was nothing that I could have thought of or prioritized more than my family and their well-being. And I'm happy that it was, because at that age, it was very formative for me to be a rock and to be there and to support them. And I like, that's my personality. I like that.
Yeah.
So I really leaned into it. But then, I basically fell off a cliff, I would say, in terms of my mentals, where I was like, whoa, I'm not good. I felt...
Was there a moment you could think of specifically where you were like, well, I need to change something up?
Yes. So I got a dog in 2021. And it was a kind of an evolution. So my family lives in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. They bred their dogs. It's 3 litters of these dogs.
What kind of dogs?
Malamute. The first litter was Malamute White German Shepherd. Absolutely gorgeous dog.
That's a sick dog.
I was still in college. They asked me, said, get a dog. I'm like, I'm in college. There's no way. The second litter was right when I graduated college. They said, hey, get a dog. I'm like, I just graduated college. There's no way. Third litter, COVID time now, is like, okay, I've been in the workforce. I could see myself doing this. I really wanted a dog.
Did you feel like you were ready to take care of something?
Absolutely not. But I didn't. But I also didn't know that. Like truly, genuinely. Like I was kind of just like, fuck it, let's figure it out. So the place that I lived at the time, Manhattan Beach, less than a block from a beach, one of the coolest places I've ever lived. I had to ask my landlord for permission. This is still peak COVID era. Where like people haven't really like. People aren't moving or doing anything because there's just no stability or whatsoever or continuity. So I had to ask my landlord for permission. She said no. And then I said, well, I'm going to get the dog, so I'm going to move out. And then she decided, you know what? I don't want to have to deal with the vacancy. You can get the dog. You can pay the fees.
Well, why did she say no?
She just didn't want to have dogs. It was her policy.
Yeah.
So I get the dog. I raised the dog in Manhattan Beach. We're kind of coming through COVID. The accident happens, and my relationship falls apart with my landlord, so much so that we were not evicted, but she said, I want you guys to leave. Like the legal...
What happened there, though?
My work, because I'm working construction, I'm always on site or in office. The dog being at home, she would kind of piss off the neighbors. The neighbors complained, and then the relationship just fell apart with the landlord. So it all just kind of bubbled to the surface. Landlord decides she doesn't want to have dogs anymore. So she asks you serve a 60-day notice. Like, I want you to leave in 60 days. I didn't like her so much at this point that I was like, I'll be out in 30 days. And
it's a loud one.
Yeah. We're about to get a couple big boys.
At this time?
Yeah. There's 2 British Airways flights that go. I know exactly.
I'm going to say, you know everything to a T, of course.
So she asked me to leave. I actually decided to move home because on a moment's notice, LA is not dog friendly, and nobody wanted to rent to a 90-pound husky Malamute mix. I mean, she was a behemoth of a dog, beautiful dog. So I moved home. My parents lived 39 miles from where my work was, which in Los Angeles is like Africa. So I was
that's a day's trip.
Well, no, sometimes home in the evenings would be 2.5 hours long.
Yeah.
For 39 miles. And so that's when I hit my full depressive mode, because I'm spending a lot of time in my truck by myself. I have this dog. I'm not giving her the quality of life that I want. And I was not okay. And I rapidly fell apart quick. And so much so.
How old are you now?
Now, this is probably 22, 23. So I was probably 26, 27. Yeah, 26, 27. This is when I started to go to therapy, because this is a full acknowledgement of I'm not really okay. I want to start figuring this out.
Was that a struggle for you as a man to be like, I'm going to go to therapy?
100%.
Why?
Just because my family is not, let's put it this way.
3 boys.
Super masculine.
Yeah.
The whole point of why I went to therapy and what I told my therapist was I want to work on being more vulnerable.
Yeah.
Because vulnerability was not a thing. Vulnerability was weaponized in my household. Anything. Intellectual vulnerability, emotional vulnerability, it was used against you. So I would hold...
By your siblings or by your...
Everyone.
Yeah.
So when I told my dad that when I was going to therapy, the first conversation with my dad when I said I was going to therapy, he said to me, you probably don't want to tell people that you're doing that. And I was like... That's the problem. That's the point.
That's why I'm in therapy.
Yeah. So, and I do not blame them at all.
Yeah.
But that stuck with me to this day. It was the very first thing when I told my dad that I was going to therapy. And I have not stopped going to therapy since that time. I've just gone the entire time. And started to go, realized that I wasn't giving my dog the life that I wanted for her, and it was eating at me every single day, every single week, because on the weekends, so I decided to rehome her. I was looking to do it locally in Los Angeles, and I ultimately ended up reaching out to my cousin, and I explained the situation to her, and she said without hesitation, bring her here, I'll take her back, bring her right now. So I think it was probably like January, which probably been the January start of 2023-ish. I drove up there. I remember it was January 19th. I rented a car by myself, and this was something I felt I had to do by myself. and I drove up. I left LA. It was the sketchiest drive and probably one of the most irresponsible things I've ever done. I left at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and didn't stop until I got to Boise, which was 5 a.m. the next day. So I drove through the entire state of Nevada in darkness in the middle of winter.
14, 15 hours?
Yeah, up to Boise was like 20 total, from there 7 hours, so 13 and a half, I think. And that was sketch. I actually ended up getting pulled over in Nevada because, I couldn't see anything. It was pitch black, total speed trap. I explained to the guy what's going on, and he actually let me go. He was basically like, make sure to get your dog safe. He saw the dog and everything, and so he didn't give me a ticket, and he explained to me how it works coming out of some of these towns.
But you're emotional too.
Oh yeah.
You're like, sir, let me explain.
Well, not only that, so like I feel like she knew, my dog, she knew. So I made this beautiful bed for her in the back, and I put all the seats down so she could actually come up to me, but like I had created it to where she had.
What was your headspace like?
I still was very much in the like, I hadn't really started doing any of the work. I just started to get the ball rolling, right? I just started to talk to someone, and this is the first talking.
I'm talking about in the process of you're bringing your dog somewhere new.
Yeah, so I don't even know how to process through emotions at this point in time. Yeah. So I remember she came up to me and we're talking, this is a 95-pound dog. She crawls up to the front, middle of the night, and gets on my lap in the driver's seat. I have this selfie picture of her. And I swear it was like she knew, she knew what was going on. And she was like coming to console me, which was and that's when the emotions hit. I remember that I had this moment of just like, I started crying. I cried a lot when I left her. I rented a car, did it one way, and I flew back. But that was one of the toughest things I've ever had to do in my life. It was from the accident was the scariest thing that I've ever experienced in my life, to rehoming my dog, which was the saddest thing I felt I've ever done in my life.
What did it tell you about yourself doing something like that?
It just put into perspective where I was at. I knew that it was something that I wasn't ready for, and also that I got to put some work into like, who's Chad, and how can I get to a point where I'm ready to be a dad, whether that be for an animal or whether that be ultimately for like my partner and children.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I started on the path where like when I came back, it was just like every week I don't miss an opportunity to talk to my therapist. 1 hour a week is not enough time.
Are you virtual or in person?
It's so my therapist, she's godsend. It was virtual to start, and that was the job that I had in LA. I ended up moving to San Diego. And so I decided, LA is not the place for me. I'm going to make a life change. And I thought about that life change for a while. I thought about moving out of state. I was like, dude, I need to get out of California. I've been here my whole life. Where would I go? I'm Southern California raised through and through. I've only ever lived in California. For some reason, I didn't really consider moving to San Diego. And you don't know this, but like other people from California, like there's a weird mental block about it. I don't know why. And now that I live in San Diego, I love it because I'm like, all the other people like stay away, don't come here. But I said, and then finally I was like, why didn't I move to San Diego? And once I got that ball rolling, it moved super, super quick. So I had 2 really good friends that lived right here in Ocean Beach. And I started the conversation with them. I had the conversation with my boss, which was that same conversation of, hey, what's going on? Are you closing doors? And he was basically like, yeah, like, I'm not ready to tell people, but you asked me. So yes, I'm not motivated. I don't necessarily want to continue doing this.
How old was he?
Late 50s, I want to say.
And he was selling?
He hadn't really determined a direction of what he wanted to do. So my dad, Mr. Judge, was like, offer to take the business. Say, teach me and give me the keys. And I did that. I actually did approach him and I said, hey, are you willing to put together a plan for me to where over, let's say, 5 years, you teach me at an operational level how to manage a business, what are the profits, what are the losses, let me get deep into the actual books of this business, and I'll accrue equity over however much, we'll come to a plan. And he said no.
Really?
Yeah. I was really young. That wasn't something that I was ready for. I had enough ambition.
Yeah, but you could always learn it.
100%.
Did he do it for your
agree.
sake? Or his own?
He was dealing with his own demons.
Yeah.
And so I came with this pitch, and he said no. Yeah. And that's fine.
Okay.
So what I did was I set my move into motion. and I decided to move to San Diego. I paid my deposit, I signed my offer, I got the ball rolling. He came back to me, I think it was 2 weeks before I was moving. Again, paid my deposit, signed my job offer. This place I was ready to move into. And he said, I'll do it. I'll sit down, I'll make a plan, and we'll do it. And we actually looked at it, and he said, I'll pay your deposit in the place that I put here to keep you to stay. And so now that's the biggest professional conflict I've ever had in my life
So you were going to leave this job and go to a new one because initially he said he wasn't interested in you getting equity and taking over the company kind of thing.
And the move was not a professional move whatsoever. The move was it was a life move, and I
get that.
Everybody,
I feel like that's everything you just got to was this is for me, not.
But he didn't. We had no presence here, so it wasn't an option. I had to get a new job, so I had signed my new job, and I said, no, it's too little, too late. I'm moving to San Diego.
I said that to him.
Yeah, I want this, and I to this day, that's the best decision of my life. So I moved down here. I got a new job, and that's when the real work has begun, because I live here on my own. This is the first time I've lived on my own, and that was a non-negotiable for me coming down here. I couldn't afford to live on my own in Los Angeles, but I could here at the time. It's kind of before the market really turned and got as expensive as it was here. Mm-hmm. And I moved into this spot, furnished this from scratch. All the art that's in here is my art. It was exactly, creating the place and the home and the sanctuary that I wanted for myself.
How has that process changed who you were to who you are now?
It was everything.
Yeah.
Being able to do that and actually building out my space is a great kind of analogy for building out the kind of person that I was, because it's a great example, if you look in here, of exactly the kind of person that I am. You can see the imagery for all the pictures. I've taken every single one of these pictures and I made this piece of art. And so between the creative side and the organization and the colors and everything, like this is the epitome of the type of person that I am, and coming into my own.
It's your own space.
It is my own space. Yeah. So
that's a sick picture. What road is that?
It's either Cape May. It's here in OB. That's the first picture I took in San Diego.
Yeah.
And then, so San Diego there, left picture right there, that's Idaho. So that's in Coeur d'Alene. That's Manhattan Beach. That's actually Christmas Eve, that sun. You got Venice, Monument Valley, Vail, Mammoth, Seattle, and that's Big Sur. And so I moved down. And the only break in time for therapy for me was from when I left my job in Los Angeles to when I got health insurance kicked in for my new job in San Diego. But I was able to keep continued care with my same therapist.
Without the health insurance?
No, that was the only gap where I haven't seen
paying,
it. Yeah. So I didn't have, because I just didn't have health insurance for 45 days or 90 days.
I don't even know if this question is, maybe I'll cut it, maybe not. I don't even think it really matters that much. What do you pay for therapy?
It was like, when I started, it was like 25 to 35, and then it was
not bad at all.
It was 40. The most recent one was 40.
40 per session.
$40
out
was
of pocket.
My out-of-pocket cost.
That's what I'm just curious.
Yeah.
So, not bad at all.
No, it's not bad at all. So, I want to tell you why my therapist, she's godsend. So I got her on freaking speed dial. I mean, I have her, that's not legal.
I'm going to need that number.
Yeah.
That's not legal, he says. We're rolling.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, so
nobody's going to see this anyway.
Well, now I can actually say it, because, so I had that job. I was laid off from that job, that was the worst job I've ever had. And that freed me. And then I got the job that I just recently quit, and I was there for 2 years. So got new insurance. I was able to continue care with her. Mm-hmm. There was a period of time there where it was, again, another 90-day probationary period before I had health insurance. She took me into her private practice, and I paid out of pocket. And I was actually in person in Orange County, where she's based out of. So we went from virtual to in person for a little bit. Sometimes it was still virtual. And then I got new health insurance, continued care with her. When I quit my job, she has now opened her own private practice. And so we still continue to do therapy through her private practice, and I just pay her the rate that I was paying out of pocket. And that's the agreement that we have.
It's amazing.
Amazing.
Oh yeah.
And
is she still a practitioner?
She is. She's triple. She does the practice with the gal that when I went into that practice and I went up there and saw her, she does her own private practice, and then she does the online platform that we originally connected through.
Good for her.
Yeah. And she's awesome. And the fact that we've continued that care, because it's building blocks, right? I've explored different areas and different tiers of my personality and different traumas and all sorts of stuff. And so we have notes for days. I mean, half the books on the shelf there are things that she's recommended over time for me to read.
So she sounds incredibly intelligent. I just want to voice my opinion real quick on what I think about therapy, because I look at a therapist the same way I would look at a coach or a personal trainer. What, the plane?
That's the big one.
That's Alaskan?
No, British Airways.
To that point, looking at, honestly, anybody, you could almost say a friend or someone, and the goal is to get you to a place to where you want to be. So maybe you don't have all the pieces by yourself, and they can lend you information to help you get to where you want to be, whether that be emotionally stable, whatever questions you have, whatever their practice is, whatever's correct for them. Not every person in that realm is going to be the right one for you. Mm-hmm. So it's finding your person.
Well, okay.
You can relate that to relationships. You can relate that in anything, in my opinion.
Yeah, and so she actually wasn't my first therapist. My first therapist, and this is where, I believe everything happens for a reason. My first therapist, when I started going to therapy, was a dude. And I went to a few sessions, and I was kind of like,
In LA?
Yeah, but this was still virtual, but this was in LA. And I went to a few sessions, and it was working. I was talking for the first time, and so I was like, okay, I'm doing stuff. But I was kind of like, I don't know if this is for me. I don't know if this guy's for me. But also that concept of finding your person is daunting, right? The same in relationships. It's a daunting task. How, am I ever going to find my person? Is there someone I'm going to resonate with? And the same thing happens for picking a doctor for your knee, for ACL surgery, or picking a therapist. So I was like really not looking forward to that task. But what happened was the guy that I was working with ultimately left the online platform that I was using. So he showed up one day and goes, hey, I'm leaving. Which was funny because that day I was going to basically be like, hey bro, I don't think this is it. And so I was like, okay. So he's like, I know you well enough now, I'm going to recommend you to someone. Boom. In comes my current therapist. Haven't looked back since.
That's kind of the beauty in that same, you just said everything happens for a reason in a way. But the law of attraction is when you're genuine, you're going to attract like-minded people. So maybe he wasn't the one, but he knows enough about you to put you with the one who is.
Yes, 100%.
So it's like authenticity. Be authentic, and it gets you to where you want to be.
Yeah.
I think that's a situation where I would look at that and be like, yeah, because you were authentic with somebody that you were questioning, it led you to a moment where now you're with your person in whatever realm you want to look at it.
Yeah, and she's amazing. I mean, literally, she's like mom 2.0, but better because she's a therapist, right? My mom doesn't necessarily she hasn't done that sort of like psychological work to be in that position.
Yeah.
And I can, like I said, I have her on speed dial. I can ask. I send her my wins in life. Like, hey, look at this video in terms of the content creation that I did, and she follows me and stuff. And, I send her pictures when I travel and stuff like that. And to have that type of relationship with someone.
Well, that connection, I mean, she's changed your life.
Absolutely. And genuinely, I feel like I didn't really start to see the benefits until probably 2 years into it, where it was like, oh, okay, I've actually put in the work and I've applied it in my life. And now I can see the different areas of my life where, okay, I'm going to set a boundary with you or with anyone.
But that's another common theme. Years have gone by and I've not seen it. The application is put into place, but it's delayed gratification. And I think the pattern recognition in every cup, especially like we're two people that fitness falls into play, mentality falls in line. Like we have a lot of that's in common, right? It's not obvious. When is it? Is this it? Is this supposed to be the hardship that I'm struggling with? Because it gets worse before it gets better. Like when you're in it, you don't recognize it. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you're like, fuck, 2 years have gone by and I'm way better than I was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And then it hits you.
Yeah.
I relate that to tripping mushrooms in Bali, but that's...
Well, and I've had those times. I went to Coachella 6 years in a row and I would do similar things and go on these journeys and you do unlock different parts of yourself in those sort of ways in a freeing sense.
But in it, you're not... When you're in it and you have taken something, you're like, when is it going to hit me? And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, that was it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I was good at leaning in. I definitely had my bouts of like where But I needed that. That was the yin and the yang to my life of where, when I show up to work every single day and I am 150%. The same with you and showing up to a workout. The workout you just did with Ryan. And showing up 150%. I'm not going to give in. I'm in the pain cave. Whether the pain cave is your job or whether the pain cave is a run, like I'm in it and I will completely immerse myself in it.
Do you think you train that, or you're born with it?
I think you're born with it.
Really?
Truly. I think that it's possible to train it, but I think that mentality is something that you're born with. You are either, and the way that my dad and I would describe it, and sorry, Troy, for calling you out. But
fuck you, Troy.
Yeah.
Troy.
That's my little brother. But you're a gamer. You're a gamer. And so you either have that instinct of, so we're water skiers, we're competitive water skiers. And competitive water skiing is one of the most ruthless sports I've ever done in my life, because you have one shot. The way to compete in water skiing, at least slalom skiing, there's 3 events that you compete in, but slalom skiing is what my family seriously does. Same as downhill slalom. It's around 6 buoys and you have an entrance and exit gates. So you have to get through each gate, the beginning and the end, and go around all 6 buoys. And it's last man standing. We all go up to a max speed, and then you keep shortening the line length, and it makes it more difficult to get around the balls. And so it becomes gradually more technical. You can practice all day long, and you can get, your practice scores can be, I average whatever. But when you go out there, your very first run, your opening pass, and you don't get around that first ball, you're done. If you fall, they don't pick you up. You have to swim in. Ruthless. And so, what kind of person are you really shows in that sort of a setting?
Well, especially the pressure.
Well, and I'm the kind of person that, guess what? I'm going out the front and partially tearing my rotator cuff twice. I've done it in a tournament twice, 2 times. Never hurt my shoulder or my elbow playing baseball my entire life, but 2 times water skiing in a competition, because I'm like, I'm going.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get that.
Yeah.
And
the lights are on. When the stage is set and the lights are on, it's like, I'm all in.
I'm all in.
I'm all in.
No
when
question.
The camera's rolling, it could be something as dumb as going off a jump, going down a ski mountain. I'm going way higher and way hotter if the camera's rolling, or if it's live, or if we're in the moment, than if I'm just doing it myself. You know what I mean? People are watching. Like, that's just how I'm built.
Well, I would say me both. It doesn't matter whether the camera's rolling. I'm the kind of person that, like, at the end of the day, it is me versus me.
For sure.
Like, and that's the only person that I'm competing with in my head is me. And I'm like, okay, I ran this much last week, or I got this many buoys.
So I think that relates to this whole topic of conversation where it's you against you. Is that something that it's always been like that, or you found that along the way? Did you ever compare to others?
Yeah, 100%. I didn't find that along the way. That's actually a transcendence in my opinion of getting to a point in your life where you're okay with yourself, where you realize that and come to terms with that. Because comparison is the thief of joy. If I look at anybody else, and I'm in a great position right now where I can look at so many people in life. The run that you did yesterday, I'm like, wow, that's a great workout. I want to do that. And then I literally dreamt last night. I sat in my bed and I was sitting there thinking, like, I woke up and I was like, dude, I don't know how long it would take me to actually be physically able to do that run right now. 2 years, maybe, because that's a tough thing to do. That's the
most taxing thing I've done on my body in a very long time.
Yeah, but also at the other side of the coin, and I don't know if I've shared with you yet, but I've built my plan out. I built my 2-year plan out. And so within 2 years of me getting surgery, I want to be doing a full Ironman.
Yeah.
And I've already built the entire roadmap as far as what that looks like and the timelines, and hitting all of my recovery milestones, to hitting my first race, doing a half marathon, doing a half Ironman, and then working my way all the way up to a full Ironman.
How often do things go to plan?
Never. I was having a conversation. Obviously, I've connected with a lot of people through this injury, and now you've kind of got a little snippet into my story, but I am a very unlucky person, it seems.
I'm starting to get that. I don't know if I would say unlucky, but I mean, I don't love the cliche, like, God gives his hardest battles to his strongest warriors. Like, it is a cliche and it's unique to me. I think everybody deals with their own things. It sounds like you tend to, I don't know why, right? Like, that car accident, the back thing, like the ACL, I would constantly be like, why me? You know?
There was a time, it doesn't happen anymore. And so now we're coming full circle at the beginning of the conversation when I started this journaling and the reflection at the beginning of the year. The beginning of the year, when I did this, I was sitting in an airplane going up to British Columbia to go helicopter skiing with my buddy, different Troy, buddy Troy. It's the coolest bucket list thing I've ever done in my life. So those were the first 2 days of the year. Literally New Year's Day and second day of the year, helicopter skiing, the coolest thing I've ever done in my life. I didn't realize that was a bucket list thing, and it was the top thing on my bucket list.
You jumped out of the helicopter?
You get out of the helicopter, they throw your skis out.
No.
Yeah.
Tell the story again and say that you jumped out of the helicopter and went straight down the
If I pay for a private one, they might let me do that.
That's still sick, though.
They run a very tight ship. Yeah. It's really cool. It's one of the coolest things I've ever done. So we do that, and I'm done this reflection, and I finally decide I'm gonna make a change. Like it's time. And I basically approached my bosses. I don't know, it was like 2 weeks after that. I kind of made up my mind, but then finally one day, and I didn't talk to anybody. I didn't tell my parents. I didn't really consult anybody.
You can't, in my opinion. Continue, sorry.
Well, I was having conversations with my boss. Things were really weird and stressful at work at the time. And people were like, oh, like, was my job at risk? And, there was a lot of like...
This is the most recent job.
Head on a swivel, yeah. This is January. This is at the beginning of the year. So I come back. We had a little break. They gave us like a week from like Christmas to New Year's off. And that's when I went and did my skiing. And I come back and I have some conversations with my boss. It was basically just like, I wanted to understand his philosophy in terms of the type of leader that he was. Because he was very negative. He would use negative motivation. And I didn't understand why. Because I'm not like that. I try to be positive and I try to be uplifting. And like, when I see my friends succeeding, like that brings energy to me. And so that's the kind of energy that I put into everything. And that's what I did in the workplace. And my coworkers love me. I was the youngest kid at the company, but I feel I held probably some of the highest respect. And I tried to carry myself that way, and I try to carry myself that way everywhere in life. But I asked him, and we would have these conversations, over lunch, over breakfast. And one day I remember it was like, I said, why do you use so much negative motivation? Because he had just told my superintendent, this is your job to lose. The position that you have, Nico, this is your job to lose. And I said, why do you phrase it that way? Because
fear.
Because you could phrase that as it's your job to win. It implies the same thing, but it reinforces positive motivation as opposed to negative. And he was kind of like, oh, yeah. And I'm like, how is that a foreign concept?
He didn't even realize, though.
Yeah.
But I feel like that just goes to the natural tendency is negativity as a human being.
Yes.
Like
yes.
that's what
that's
our
where
default setting.
Realizing you're not going to change. I'm not going to change who that person is.
No.
So ultimately, the end of the conversation ended up being he sharing with me, look, his dream is to create a company that builds the best craftsmanship as far as custom homes go. And he wants to have a team that supports in that mission to do that. And okay, that's a respectable mission.
It's passionate.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
And I took that, and so this is one of the first weeks of the new year. I came home, I'm looking at my reflection, and I realized for myself that he shared with me his dream, and I was like, that's not my dream. I'm not
what was yours?
That passionate about. Well, then I went back and I was like, well, I don't know that I've ever had a dream. I'm 30 years old. And so we've now peaked of this exercise that I was doing for myself, that I said, okay, everything that I've done, all the work that I've done has led me to this moment of deciding what is my dream. And I realize now it's telling my story. It's sharing with people and trying to help inspire people. Right now in this moment in time, it's telling my live story and documenting the journey in terms of how I'm dealing with this from a physical and a mental approach. But this today, right now, is the sum of everything that I've done, everything that I've learned, all the work that I put in is now putting it into play while I rehab this injury. all of the mental work, all of the therapy, all the hours, all the training is so that I can do this as best as I possibly can and share it with the world. And so
the blessing in disguise to me is you're a phenomenal communicator. You've been through all this stuff. If this doesn't happen, are you able to sit down, be as productive, get right with how you share your thoughts, all these different variables where it's like, why me? And then this is what comes from it. I can get my mind right. I can focus on how I communicate. Like, what can you do where, as in, I'm on this, it's just this other side of the coin where I can go out and be physical, but it's such an easy excuse for me to delay work that I need to do or procrastinate, because I can go do a hard thing and I feel accomplished because I did something hard. I ran whatever, but I didn't know administration work.
I've definitely coped with a lot of this stuff via exercise, no doubt.
Yeah.
For a while now. I mean, I would deal with stress. I would leave work, and I would go for a 40-mile bike ride, and just that was it. And I would just ride myself to exhaustion, and then I just go to bed, and I'd wake up at 4 o'clock the next day, and then I do it all over again.
And that's a unique one too, right? Where you're not dealing with the problems, you're offsetting. Yeah. You're putting energy into something else and maybe using it as a motivational tactic, which, great. I do it, you do it,
yep.
And it can help you get to a point, but it can become so physically and emotionally exhausting that all of a sudden you're like, I want to keep doing this, and if I can tap into that stuff, time and place, great. But like, I want to be fucking happy at the same time.
Yeah. And I kind of suffered. I mean, so leading all the way up until here. So January comes by, I have that conversation. I basically walk into the office next day. And so the business was owned by 2 people. We had my boss, who was like the general manager. He was the build side of it. He was the construction brain and mind. And then we had our CFO, our chief financial officer. She ran all the books. She was all profit oriented, and they were yin and yang. She's the keep the doors open, we got to make money. He's the I want to nerd out on all of the build and put all this stuff together. And I was kind of the bridge between the two, because the only projects that we had going were the projects that I was running. And so I was having some of these conversations at an operational level in terms of how we should manage personnel and ways to optimize performance and all that stuff. So I wanted to, she was in town at the time. She lives up in Northern California, and she works remote most of the time, and she comes down like once a month. She was in town. And I just basically decided, and it was all on a whim, dude. Literally that day, it was a Tuesday. And I was like, fuck it. I'm going up to my boss and I'm telling him that I'm quitting. And
I love it. That's what I did.
Well, and I say, I put a meeting on his calendar for 1 o'clock in the afternoon, because that's what we would do if you need to have a little check-in. Because sometimes they would do these like random check-ins, which was kind of like, we called it an ambush. If they, they basically be like, this is where you're fucking up. So I put this check-in into his calendar. We go sit down, and I said, we should go outside and have this conversation. And I looked him in the eyes, and this is one of the, as a man, how well I handled this conversation. No fear, because I was so ready. This is the pinnacle of all the work that I've done, that I was so ready to have this conversation. And I looked at him and I said, Rich, thank you for sharing with me your dream. The conversation that we had, like really, truly, that was beautiful. It was passionate. I could feel it. That's awesome. But that's not my dream. And I also shared, I've never really had a dream till now at 30 years old, and I've kind of realized what it is. I said, I'm going to leave, and I'm going to go chase this dream. And he had tears in his eyes. He was like, I get it. Cool. And super supportive. And we had a great conversation. I basically said, he was like, how much time do you want to give? Okay, we kind of talked about it. We said, okay, let's do a month. Be enough to like shift all my work over to someone if you want to hire someone new, whatever. And then I said, I want to go tell Brianna myself right now. I'm just going to go and immediately tell her. So I tell her. And then Rich comes back to me, and he says to me, he says, hey, I just want you to know that I've enjoyed working with you so much that if you go chase this dream and say you do it for 6 months and it doesn't work out, give me a call. And I said, cool, that's awesome. Thanks. Week or two go by. We're having breakfast. And he says to me, he goes, I remember I told you that if it doesn't work out, give me a call. He goes, you're not looking back. And I go, nope, I'm not. And since that time, so this is now probably first week of February, I tore my ACL on the 6th of February skiing in Sun Valley, Idaho. By no means did I think I tore my ACL. I just had a little knee injury. I came back. This was Friday. I showed up to work Monday, had a little limp, whatever. And that was 2 weeks before I quit. Started the process of I went to the doctor, they ordered the MRI. We do what's called a McMurray test, which is a mobility test that basically ruled out the possibility of me tearing my ACL, which was funny. And she was like, no, I think your ACL is good. We thought it was a partial tear of meniscus or something. So I quit. I leave, good terms, get an MRI the Friday after I quit.
Health insurance or what?
So the MRI was the last day of health insurance. Monday I get the results. I'm sitting right here. I'm on speakerphone with my buddy Marco. And I don't know what we're talking about. And I get radiology report, open it, scrolling through. Okay, MCL, nothing. Meniscus, nothing. Cool, nothing. ACL, 90% to complete rupture of ACL. They couldn't tell. They think it's fully blown out. And I'm like, I read it out loud. He's like, did you just tell me that you tore your ACL? And I was like, yeah, I think so. So now it's like, okay, we got to figure this out. So I have a conversation with my parents. I wasn't going to do health insurance. I set aside basically 6 months of my savings to figure it out. I was going to go work at Fit as a group trainer. I need to get my personal trainer certification. So I had a plan.
Contingency, yeah.
Well, and I had a plan that I was going to do. So now it's stick dynamite in it, blow it up.
Perfect, though.
Yeah. Well, and I wouldn't have it any other way, dude. What's the start of the best journey of my life? And I even said this, and I had this conversation with my old bosses, and they were super supportive, and it was really amazing. But they were like, this is gonna be, other than probably the journey of meeting my wife and starting a family, this is probably the best journey of my life. And it's still probably what will beat that, because this is just me. And
well, this is all part of your, at the end, this
whole story, yes. Yeah. But right here and now, I was like, okay, I wouldn't have it any other way. What's the start of something like this without a little adversity? So it's pick up the phone. How do I get a health insurance? I couldn't get it for the whole month of March. It started April 1st. I paid out of pocket for consultation, doing all my research to figure out a doctor. There was no other option. I mean, the first doctor was like, the surgery is the only option. There's no other option. And so I had to pay $350 to a doctor while I didn't have health insurance for him to just tell me, yeah, you have to have surgery and here's what we're going to do. And I'd done all my own research. I had a bunch of questions, and I came in, and literally my first question was, what do professional athletes do? I'm treating this like I'm a professional athlete. What do professional athletes do? And I went with that approach, and I've stuck with that approach since day one. And he really picked up what I was putting down. I know I shared with you, I had done research. I basically narrowed it down to 3 guys. Best, better, good. And I wouldn't call it just good. But still great.
Yes.
And, so he was number 3. The first doctor I saw was number 3. And I looked him in the eyes and I said to him, hey, Dr. David, who's in your office, he's number 1. Everyone knows that locally in San Diego. Tell me why I should have you do my surgery instead of him. Because I had an appointment with Dr. David 2 weeks later. And he was like, what? And he's like, frankly, this is my craft. I love it. He's like, I'm a nerd for this. I read all of the latest literature. I follow with the science. I move with the times. I want to figure out how to do this better and better and better and better. And he's like, I love patients like you because you're going to treat this the way that it's supposed to be treated. And that was all I needed to hear, because I said, yep, that's me. How you view your profession and your career and your craft is exactly how I view my life, and especially my health, which is my craft. So that's my guy. Did an amazing job.
That's an amazing thing to ask somebody off the rip, is why the fuck should I let you do my surgery? In a world where people walk in and just trust the immediate word of a doctor, you walked in and said, well, you tell me why I should choose you.
Yeah, and I'm not, and dude, you got to do your due diligence. Everybody in life. If there's anything that I've learned in the last 5 years.
But it's an incredibly unique approach.
Yeah, and I'm by myself, It's a one thing if your mom goes with you, and takes you to a doctor's appointment. No, dude, I'm showing up here and look me in the eyes and tell me why you should.
Yeah, but that makes it, I'm dead serious about it. This is my health. This is and you, again, everything that you've said so far, it justifies your story so much more to me now, because now I have an understanding of everything that you've been through to this point is like, I don't take this shit as a joke. What, are you the best? Can I get back? I'm getting to 100% again. I don't care what you say. You know, a doctor might be like, well, the best you can do is 80%.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
I refuse to believe, and I've told everybody, this is something that I'm sharing on social media. I refuse to believe I will not be 100% and then some. Yeah. I'm going to get back to the point that I was, and then I'm going to keep going.
I know you are too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I was going to say this.
Even Mr. Small Quad.
I was going to say this too because it was funny when I got back. Was I think you had just left, and I had just gotten back to San Diego. And I saw you. You're like, "What up, man? Like, how you been?" Like, we just started catching up. You're like, I quit my job. I was like, "Fuck yeah!" You're like, tore my ACL. I was like, "Let's go!" Like, I was fired up.
Yeah.
I was like, What were they just gonna hand it to you? Were they gonna make it easy for you? And you're just like, "Fuck!" Like, you weren't ready for me to respond like that. And I was just fired up.
Yeah.
I think I literally. You told me everything. I was like, "Doesn't that fire you up?" You were like, "Yeah."
I mean, it does. Yes.
In the moment, you were like, "It fucking sucks." I was like, "Yeah, it does."
But you know, I'm really to come to terms. I wouldn't have it any other way. Yeah. Like, genuinely, in terms of the story of my life that I've had at this point, like, there's no surprise here, and I don't have any of this poor me, why me.
Can't.
Well. So as a part of my exercise of reflection this year and reflecting on my 30s, I wrote my rules. I read a book called The Perfect Day Formula.
I'll be stealing that book when I leave.
Yeah, you can absolutely take that today. But the two takeaways that I got from that is, one, he wrote his rules for his life, and two, he wrote his vision. And so as I was doing this, I go, well, and the vision was 5-year vision. His vision's really funny because it was pre-COVID and it took him to about COVID era. So like the vision that he had in the book that he shared was like, oh, none of this happened because COVID totally ruined your thing. Yeah. But I was like, what is my vision for myself? Because it sure as heck wasn't being a project manager for the custom home builder that it was. And it wasn't also starting my own and getting my contractor's license. That was not in the formula for me. And then the rules, I was on the airplane. I read the entire book on the airplane. That was actually going to Hawaii for my grandmother's funeral, but I read the entire book on the airplane. When I got to the rules section, before I read his rules, I wrote my own down. And then I read his. And then I actually incorporated a little bit of what he had.
I like that.
Which is funny because when I ended up showing it to my therapist, the only ones that she picked apart were the ones that were the blend of his. Otherwise, she loved all the ones that I had, which is funny, I guess. That's again a physical example of like, look at the work that you put in.
It's artistic too.
It's artistic, but one of my rules was embrace the darkness. I've dealt with so much darkness in my life. There's another story for another time that I'll share with you in regards to my relationship with my brother and his addiction. That's one of the darkest stories I've ever had in my life, but I've had plenty of dark. And so I'd already written this down, and I said all the best things come from the messiness. And that is the rule. It's written in that book.
And you're on the way to your grandmother's funeral.
On the way to my grandmother's funeral.
You're already in a heightened state of emotion, probably.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I wrote those down. I've done a Rev 2 of that. That one didn't change. But when I tore my ACL, which was 2 weeks later, after I wrote that down, the very first moment, I remember exactly where I was. As soon as it happened, I sat down and I clutched my knee, and I knew something happened. I refused to believe that it was like as bad as it was. But as soon as it happened, I sat down and I said to myself, okay, here we go. Embrace the darkness. And I can think back to that moment.
It's such a euphoric continue.
Well, I can think back to that any moment. Any moment. Yeah. I have the video, my clip of my friend coming up on me with his GoPro from behind me. And I was in the front, classic me, just charging down.
Follow me, boys. Yeah. Last one down's a bitch.
And he comes up, he's like, hey, you okay, bud? And I'm just clutching my knee. Yeah. And I sat there and I said, okay, here we go. Start the journey, embrace the darkness. And you can't look back.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. It's euphoric in a way where I had gotten to this point while traveling. I thought somebody had stolen my phone, I lost it, whatever, and I had gotten so down at points in the travel where I had finally been up, and the things that had mattered to me have changed. I've like popped the social bubble where being here, things that matter aren't the same as when I was traveling, and like still I'm working through all that stuff. And I just genuinely did not care. Like, it's a similar thing where you like embrace it, and it gives you this euphoria of I'm at peace with it because only react to what you can control. And it was the same thing where I was like, I mean, this is my fault, but if that's what was supposed to happen, that was supposed to happen. And I think I've had experiences where I feel really good about that, and it's peaks and valleys for me, you know, and I feel like you're probably pretty similar. And even on that same note, it's you have to lose things in order to realize how much you love them.
100%.
Like it's all the cliches, and it's all the same themes in the same books, and it's all the history repeats itself, and this is what you need to understand and appreciate. And I think that's the value in reading. But at the same time, it's so true.
Yeah.
Sit with these things, and it's...
I mean, this is a prime example, and it's literally the video that I posted today, that I feel I'm finally turning a quarter mentally, that I'm the kind of person that, like, I need to feel it, right? I need to feel it out. I need to be in it. Like, I'm a tactile person. Like, and that applies to anything. In order for me to have that experience, like, I need to hit it on head first and fuck it up, and then learn, like, okay, that's failure in whatever space. And so for this, it's like, okay, I want to see progress, you know, and you don't need to. You just need to be. You just need to feel. You need to be able to close the eyes and just know, like, I am moving in the direction that I need to, and I'm just being. The best piece of advice, and one of my mantras today that my therapist ever gave me, and it's perfect for who I am, is we are human beings. We are not human doings. You got to just be. And so in that moment, and in any of these other moments, what's done is done. It happened. In the blink of an eye, my ACL just said, nope, see ya. Okay. And now, you know what? The hardest time for me was 8.5 weeks of not having an ACL. You know, where it was like, I will never be a full version of myself. That was the hardest time. This time now, the physical hurdle, the mental hurdle, I love it. Give me the challenge, let's go. Because right now we're in it. I'm being with all of these things, and I wouldn't have it any other way. This is all of the shit that's happened to me. The stuff that's flown downhill has gotten me to this point to where I'm calloused enough to say I'm ready to charge into the abyss. And share that with people, you know? I never would have thought that.
That's a hard part too.
Yeah, and it's hard to put yourself out there, but honestly, I'm a reps guy. Just practice the reps. Talk to them.
Even your stuff has gotten so much better the more you've done it.
Yeah.
You sent me a video the other day, I'm like, dude, that's phenomenal. Like, that's the best one I've seen you, compared to the first one, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm the same way. Everybody's the same way.
Everybody is the same way. You know, that's where you go back to, you know, is it something that you're born with, or is it something that everybody has the ability to, if you apply yourself to something and you continually get good reps, your reps will be ugly before they're not. And then they get clean. And then they get strong. And then they get more dynamic.
And you're starting to pay attention to different things. And, this is what, in anything.
In anything.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, same thing. I'm literally doing the reps that I have to do for my freaking leg are the most basic reps I've ever done. Ever. Even when I started getting into fitness, I did more complex movements than what I'm doing. I'm literally just, I sit here and activate.
From the ground up?
Yeah. And relearning to walk. And you know what, dude? I love it. I love it. I love the concept of having to relearn to walk. Because I said to my mom, Mom, didn't I learn to walk at 9.5 months? And she said, yeah. You were freaking running at 9.5 months. The fastest one in my family to walking out of the 3 boys. And I said, it's crazy. I said, what happened to the 29 years? what was this gap of time that got me to this point now where, you know.
You got to do it again.
And now I have to do it again.
Let me ask you something. Not completely off topic, but still on the brand. Do you like yourself?
Yes.
Have you always?
No.
When do you think you found that you did? And I asked it because I feel like you have done so much work to where you are at least getting there.
Well, so I used to think, and it's funny because, like, college Chad, very different. I was a total social extrovert, dude. I thrived on people's attention.
Shocker.
I wanted it all. Well, no, I mean, like, you don't know a version of me that was, where I was the life of the party, the center of the bar. You could find me every single time, every Friday night, every Thursday night. You know exactly where I was. Hands up, biggest smile on my face. Everybody knows who I am, and I wanted that, and I wanted all that attention. At that point in time, I would have told you, yeah, I love the hell out of myself. I think I'm the coolest shit ever. But I realized I knew nothing.
That was all external.
It was all external. I knew nothing. And so it wasn't until you come down and you hit sort of your proverbial for yourself rock bottom of realizing, okay, now is where I'm finally going to start to put in the work, and I'm going to start to climb up this mountain and claw my way out. And frankly, for me, it was just one of those things that's like, okay, the mission is climb. I don't even know where the top is. And it wasn't until probably about this year, about 30 years old, that when I went solo traveling last summer, which was for my 30th birthday, in Europe, first time I ever been to Europe, I went by myself, and there was no questions asked, dude. I don't care. Are you scared? No. I'm so ready for this. And how I moved through the world on that trip with ease and passion and just a big old smile on my face. And every single person in Europe, it was the funniest thing. They looked at me and they're like, you're on holiday. And I'm like, hell yeah.
Too happy.
Yeah, dude. And that's when I realized, I said, you know what? I've figured out, because how I planned that trip and all the destinations that I went and just taking my camera with me and being the creative version of myself is what I love. And that's what I love about me. I mean, right there, this stuff, taking these pictures and being in that state of mind. I love to do that, and it makes me happy, and nobody can take that away from me. And once you get to that point in life, no one can actually take anything away from you anymore. And that's where, okay, I could take away my own ACLs, you know?
Yeah.
But then I'm the one that's going to have to rebuild it back, and that's fine.
And to me, I just heard this recently, it's the way you view yourself as character, and the way others view you as reputation. So you have a very strong sense of character. And then I think it's like understanding the balance of your reputation and character. But I guess
haven't heard that. I like that a lot. The way you view yourself as character, the way other people view you as reputation. That's powerful.
I'm still working my own way around that one. I heard it literally yesterday. But it's so valid. I think when you can disassociate the two and then identify one and the other, is I know who I am and that's my character. And I'm content and I'm good with that. Do I question it sometimes? Yes. And why? Because my reputation. Probably.
I'm going to write that down. I like that a lot.
Yeah. There's some stuff you said too that I was like, fuck, I got to write that down.
I'm going to write that down.
And it's so unique, you know, I mean, you can be so strong, but even again, when you're going through this and a shitty night's sleep, you wake up in the morning and then there are those same days that test you. There are the social aspects of it. What do you think it is for you where you have such a strong sense of character? You just verbalized that. But in terms of, I don't know if reputation is the same thing, but for the sake of this conversation, you have such a strong sense of character. Does how you're perceived, and we can call it reputation, does it affect your character, you think, or no? No,
I definitely think about it, but now I've reached that state of mind where like when I can recognize when I think about it, and then I'm like, that's stop chasing that.
Yeah.
Because I've been there, I've had those bouts, but now I don't care. And honestly, dude, so this injury, a great way I describe it, I shared it with my therapist yesterday, is this injury has established truly my short circle. I like the term short circle for myself. Short circle in terms of the people around me that are in that short circle. I thought that it was a little bit bigger than it was, and it's not. And I'm totally okay with that. Okay, I've seen the real ones, the ones that are here for me. You know, you commented on the video like I'm the handstand, like I'm tired of looking out for you. And my response was no, you're not. I'm not. You know, but I knew that.
Yeah, but see, I think that's a unique one too, because there's that same theme in society where, you know, I see you and it's like you haven't called them forever, and then they're like, well, the phone works both ways.
Both ways, yeah.
It's so unique to me where I feel like, you know, life happens. We lose track of things a little bit. I got shit going on in my life. You got shit going on in yours. You're hurt. You're injured. I'm always here for you, you know, and I may forget that. And then I see a post. So you're putting yourself out there so I remember. And I think about that with friends who don't use social media as much, or I don't see them as much. It's like they're not the first thing I think of when I wake up.
Well, so, nobody is or should be other than yourself, truly. Injury puts that into perspective for you. But I've also realized too, so, you know, I love the analogy of you look at friendships and relationships in your life as a tree. Some friends are leaves, they're seasonal. Some friends are branches, they last a few seasons. And then some friends are the roots. I now realize, and I've deep rooted myself here in San Diego. San Diego are my people, my friends. Some of my closest friends are some of my newest friends, the friends that I came when I met here. You are a great example. And I love that analogy because it's very true. And I'm okay, just shed the leaves, shed the branches. Only the core people that deserve to be here. But also, if you're rooted, if we don't talk for 2 days or 2 months or 2 years, it doesn't change anything. I know and I'm confident that the person that Nico is moving through the world versus the person that Chad is moving through the world, that we're going to continue to get it. We're going to get ours. And that when we do pick up the phone and we do have that conversation, or we do pick up the microphone or the camera and we sit down here and we have this conversation, that it's going to be no different than it ever was. And that truly, that's roots. That's the short circle. It doesn't matter. I have no expectation. Yes, a phone works both ways, and I will pick it up, and I will call you, because that's who I am. Yeah. And I know that you will do the same. Yeah. But there's no expectation for me of thinking, I need Nico to call me. Mm-hmm. I need Nico to comment on my video. Mm-hmm. I need Nico to like my video or share my video, or whatever. If you see it, you see it. Great. Yeah. And if I see yours...
But that shouldn't be why you're doing it at the same time.
No, 100%. Yeah. But it doesn't matter. Yeah. I know that if you see it, and my philosophy, if I see yours... If anything that I can do to support you in that moment, like I actually went through today when you posted your video right before you showed up here, I looked at your video and then I scrolled through the last couple and realized I hadn't seen those.
It's fucked up.
And I was like, okay, I got to be retroactive and I go back through.
But he's coming over. I got to make sure. But
that's the kind of person. Well, that's the kind of person that I was like, okay, I missed it, but I'm going to support my friend, and I really, really, truly, I'm so appreciative right now of seeing the real ones, which are my buddy who's a CPA that's helped me put my business together since I started it, since I hurt myself. My buddy who's a lawyer that's helped review contracts and also give me legal advice in terms of setting up the entity, right? Okay, these guys that show up for me, they're willing to take time out of their day to give me a phone call or write me he wrote me a whole friggin' memo and highlighted stuff and said, this stuff you have to do in the first 90 days or whatever. Those are the real ones. Yeah. And I'm totally cool at this point in time in my life of letting go of everything else and letting them just float away in the wind.
What do you think of it's a famous line, I think it is from, I don't know what movie. I don't think it's not The Departed. But either way, it's a scene, and actor who recently passed, not even going to be able to think of his name right now, is, there's an age-old question that always matters, and it is, what is in it for me? Right? So every relationship we have is transactional. Mm-hmm. Why would I go out of my way, and what, you know what I mean? I think that thought process, and that's in quote-unquote to be successful. I don't think it's just a human being thing, but I think you can cross that same line of greed, and I'm not going to do anything if that's not in my favor. Mm-hmm. But at the other side of that coin is you go down to Mexico and build houses for the homeless and expect nothing in return. Honestly, though, at that same time is it makes you feel good. Mm-hmm. So everything we do, there's some type of selfishness attached to it. Being a good person makes you feel better, so that's selfish. Mm-hmm. It's not a bad thing. It's just, it is what it is. So what's in it for me? I feel better when I do it. What's in it for me? My reputation is now, that's what he's known for. So I think about that frequently.
How do you feel about that line? How do you feel about that in your life? Do you think that that's true? Do you believe that?
For me specifically, or for others surrounding me?
For
you. I used to. I think I grew up in a way where it was always Italian family. Father was always looking for a deal. It's always...
Yeah, you're hustling everywhere.
You're hustling everything. So it's I'm not paying full price. We got this for the right, you know what I mean? We got 4 for 1, whatever it is. You're always kind of in that hustle mode, hustle grind. And to me, that's been a thought of mine recently is well, what's in it for me is you got to walk away from the situation thinking you have won. And I think a big shift for myself is the fact that you could walk away from the situation thinking you've won, but that doesn't mean the other person has to lose. Mm-hmm. So you both win, making everything a win-win. Changing overall, I think my mindset has shifted to just because I lost my train of thought. I don't know.
So I disagree with that. I think that is the reality of the world, unfortunately, but I don't like that approach.
Which one?
That everything is transactional.
But that doesn't mean it's good or bad, but go ahead.
No, yeah. But I disagree. That's not how I want to live my life. because if everybody did that, I mean, you know, it's almost a principle of like kind of capitalist America of, you know, and that's not right. That is the way that we do things, and that's how we were raised, but there are different ways of doing it. Just to say that's not right or that's not wrong. And I don't believe that. What I believe is being a good person and putting that out into the world. Because regardless, we are all going to die. We are all going to be dust and bones. And at the end of the day, if you didn't make the world better with your presence, in however you can do that, because you were just greedy and transactional and trying to look out for yourself, everything still goes away as soon as you die. All of these material things. And so, and like, there was a period of time, you know, those mid-20s, and you asked about work, like everything was material for me. Like I was like, I want to be a millionaire. You know, I want to make money. I want to do this. And like, yes, well, those things are still true, and I want to chase my ambition, and I want to be able to like make enough money so that I can set my family up with generational wealth. That's not it. What it is,
if it's done the wrong way.
If it's done, yeah, if I do it wrong, it's not it. I'm not gonna just do it for the sake of fucking doing it.
Yeah.
I want to put it out in the world. My whole mission, and this is great because was a niche that I never thought about, was I want to see people succeed. I want to be able to give them, because I've gotten so much love and support through Instagram, through just sharing my journey thus far. 38 days as of today, and everything that I've done. I've reached over 2.5 million people. I've got, you know, 4,000 more followers, and not that this is a numbers game by any means, but there's metrics that are attached to this. But all the conversations that I've had, and the messages that people have sent me that have been inspirational to me, like a mom that said, my 12-year-old daughter is going into surgery, and she doesn't have Instagram, but I show her every single one of your videos, and she literally said, you're inspiring a 12-year-old girl. I screenshotted that. I wanted to make it the background of my phone. I said the energy and the motivation and the inspiration that gives me, I want to freaking put that into a ball, and I want to just channel that straight back into the world. And that's what I want to do for the rest of my life with this platform. It's just going to grow from being, hey, here's how I help my knee, and I want to help you, to here's how I want to help more people in a greater context, in a greater audience. And another one of my rules that I put in there is I will help millions of people.
Love it.
And it's very broad, because that help will be different. And I wrote that down before I hurt myself and before I started this.
Yeah.
And that's truly, genuinely how I feel. And I realized that is my purpose. And I finally, at 30 years old, discovered that's my dream, that is my purpose, and that is the thing that I want to chase until the end of my time. If I could start a mission today, if I could start a journey around the world to be able to go to, and I had all the money in the world to where it didn't matter, and I could literally do everything, it would be impossible for me to see every single country and meet every single person and try every bit of food and see every sunrise and sunset in all these countries. It would be impossible.
No, it wouldn't.
It would be impossible. I agree with you that I like the pursuit of saying, let's go do it anyway. But go out and just do it and be.
Yeah.
And don't be racist and sexist and put all this bad shit out in the world. The only way that stuff goes away is that by teaching kids that haven't been taught yet that it doesn't exist. And that just means going through the world and being a good person.
So what's the flip side of all that? Is because you have a very good understanding of that, and honestly the book I just started it's called A New World, and it's that exact thing. It's like go into the world, bring positivity, and all of that will die because the world will now become a new one. That's the theme, right? It's like ego, death, all these variations. What do you think on the other side of you, where there's the people that go out there, you know, I'm not going to say your boss, but the negative person that goes out and is like, I'm doing this out of pure greed. I'm doing this out of pure me, you know? And I think it's something I have come to terms with is like, it's a bit easier when it's me. Once I have a family and kids, is like, would I be greedy to give them the best life possible?
Yeah, but the context changes. I mean,
agree.
So what you're talking about is a concept that we can't understand. We're not there.
Correct.
And not only that, but in that situation, in that scenario, when you get to that point in life, you're 50% of the equation in terms of the thought, at best, right? Where you have a partner that you're birthing and raising children with, and they have at least 50, I'm going to just be honest and say it's probably more than 50% of the input, right?
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
and so I'm okay with that, right? So any of my morals and my values and how I want to raise kids and you know, those shifts in my life, it doesn't really matter. I have my feeling and I have my view right now, but it doesn't matter how I feel, because ultimately when I meet that person and I have that conversation, and it won't just be one conversation, it's going to be a lot of conversations. For sure. Of how do we want to do this? Because if there's anything that my parents have instilled in me, yes, that does shift when I do have kids, to where it's no longer me putting that out in the world to just put it out in the world, but rather to put it out in the world for them. And I think, you know, parents that may watch this and see this would probably agree, but we can't understand that. And I'm blessed and thankful to be in the position that I'm in. You know, I have this conversation with my ex-coworkers, a lot of, you know, are 40 plus years old, multiple kids, different eras of life. Yeah. And they're envious of me in my era of life, and I am envious of them in their era of life. Grass is always greener. Yeah. But in reality, too, I'm like, you need to just sit and be where you are as a dad, and I need to sit and be where I am as a single guy, and that's it.
Yeah, that's a whole nother thing, is being comfortable and confident in who you are and enjoying it now versus looking at, but it's kind of the same thing as comparison. The grass is always greener.
Yeah, but for me, that's I mean, maybe it's anxiety, but it's future, right? It's like, I've always wanted to be a father. No doubt about it. I want to have a boy and I want to have a girl. I grew up obviously with all boys. I want to know what it's like to raise a daughter, but I also want to teach my son how to play catch. You know, my dad did that with me, and I played catch with my dad at, it wasn't this Easter. I guess actually we did do it in March, but I played catch with my dad at my lake. And we've done it probably twice the last year.
I need to fucking play catch with my dad.
But Easter in March. And dude, I took a video, and my dad taught me how to play catch. Yeah. The happiest, genuinely probably the happiest I've ever been in my life. It's just sitting there and playing catch with my dad. And my best friend, who we went to high school together, we were throwing partners, and his kid's on the way right now. I was the best man in his wedding. To this day, when he came down in March too. He's like, you know, what do we want to do? He's like, I just want to play catch. And I will play catch with my dad and my best friend. That will be timeless for me for the end of life. And I want to be able to teach my son how to play catch. And I want to be able to have the same memory. You know, I want him to have the same memory when he gets to that point in his life, when he's 30 years old, to come home and be able to play catch with him.
What do you do to stay present?
Meditate. Big time meditator. So right now I'm actually meditating twice a day. So
what does that look like?
So I do a morning meditation. So
when you wake up?
Not now. Typically, yes. It's not necessarily the first thing I do when I wake up. My normal schedule is wake up at 4. I kind of do some stuff around the house and I set myself up for the day. I'm in the gym by 5. I work out. I do my stretching. I sit in the sauna, and when I'm in the sauna, I do that. So I'm usually meditating, you know, within the first 2 to 3 hours of being awake.
Wake up at 4 every day.
Every day.
Was your
Yeah. And I cannot wait to get back to that. Like literally, that like just fuels motivation in me to get back to that point. Because my mornings, and it took me years to create that routine for myself. My morning is the most powerful thing in my life. It makes me so happy.
Sets the tone for your day.
By 7 a.m. I've walked 3,000 steps, right? And this is like, you know, if I'm going for a run, it's totally different context, but we're talking, you know, just a lift. I've done mobility. I've done my resistance training. I've done static stretching. I've done my heat exposure. I'm showered. I'm ready to tackle the day. The sun is barely rising most days by that point. Yeah. And by 11 a.m. I've lived like a full 8-hour day pretty much. And the productivity, my most productive time for work, from 7 to 11 in the morning. I don't need coffee. My brain is ready to go. And I've cut coffee out in terms of like my daily routine in terms of caffeine intake.
Overall?
Yeah.
Do you do any caffeine?
I do pre-workout, but I don't do full scoops of pre-workout. And that's more for the other benefits. I've experimented with different non-stim pre-workouts, but I just haven't found a blend that, you know, is...
Ryan gets dialed. He's working on something.
Is he?
He's thinking about it.
Non-caffeinated?
Just like, I mean, he's very clean, and like everything he puts in his body is very clean, so he wants to do some type of pre-workout that would be like that would go with what his mantra is. I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I'm the same way. Literally,
I know you guys are pretty similar in that manner. I feel like that'd be a good topic for you guys to talk about.
It was. I mean, caffeine wasn't even. It wasn't like an addiction. But by no means was. I drank 1 cup of coffee a day. But it was just the social standard of you show up to the office and everybody gets a cup of coffee, and that's how I start the day. Yeah. And I said, why am I doing this? And I said, I'm gonna cut it out. Well, the other thing too is I went to the dentist one day, and he goes, he goes, do you drink coffee and do you eat blueberries? And I was like, those are like the first 2 things I ingest. I eat blueberries with my overnight oats every day.
Yeah.
And organic blueberries, like one of the best brain foods that you could do for yourself. And so, I was like, I could see it stains it. So I'm like, okay, boom, coffee, see ya.
Done.
Like at that point I was considering it, and then it was just done. And I have that, I'm able to do that like instant rationalization of just like this habit can just axe. Yeah. So now I drink coffee for fun on the weekends.
Good for you.
Yeah, I mean, just going. So like I typically fast every Sunday for 24 hours. I do.
Really?
I do Saturday dinner, and then I fast until Sunday dinner. And I do this, like...
I love that routine. I actually have thought about incorporating something similar.
Love it. Yeah. Love it. And I do such a good dinner. I usually do fish for that dinner. I usually don't do carbs, so just do fish and vegetables, and like it's just phenomenal. And energy feels great. Flush my gut out, metabolic restart, everything is really good. I can't do it right now. You have to be continuously, you need more protein in your body.
You need nutrition for your body to recover,
And I'm not hitting quite my nutrition goals because I'm not moving the way that I was. So I'm having to, it's tough right now. It's adjusted on the fly.
Strategize,
So I can't wait to get back to kind of that routine. And I would do it every Sunday. And my routine was I'd fast on Sunday. I'd go to the La Jolla Farmers Market. I'd get all of my groceries. And people think that I'm freaking absolutely insane for like go to a farmer's market where they're making all this great food, like made ready food. And like you smell that and see that and you're just going to like walk by it and not eat it. And they're giving out samples and stuff. And my mom's like, you're crazy.
And what do you do? You get what?
Just coffee, black coffee.
Oh, because you don't eat.
I don't eat
during the day.
Yeah. And to me, that's training.
Yeah.
That's the whole point. I show up there and I'm like, I love it. Yeah. Give me all the smells. Yeah. And that's half of what it is.
But that's such a unique concept too. I actually did a podcast with a chiropractor, a family friend of mine, and I fucked up with the whole SD card and I wasn't able to get access to the footage. But we had a great conversation. It was like my second episode ever, and I was like, it was so good. I was like, it pissed me off, right? Mm. But again, I fucked up, can't control it, moved on. And we went into a conversation about how fasting is such a unique approach to any discipline in life, whether it be substance abuse, alcohol addiction, whatever it is. If you can withstand the desire for food, that initial hunger, and you can push it off and you can stay disciplined enough to, I'm strong enough to get through this feeling, this urge, this sense. If you can withstand that, it kind of gives you this whole different visual. But he's big on fasting. He's very into health and wellness also. So
it's really healthy. So like when you talk about like instant being able to rationalize a decision to do something, it's like, okay, this is really healthy. It's really good for me.
For sure.
But I totally look at it as a 50-50 split.
Well, when you say it's really healthy and good for me, what do you mean by that?
So humans from birth, that concept, we're conditioned that hunger sets in every 3 hours, satiate. You need it, nutrition, to grow. But you look at the evolution of history in life, they'd be lucky to eat a meal a day as we evolved. And we evolved physically to be able to work with that amount of nutrition. So we don't need it. And kicking that mental habit, it's a social construct that we've created ourselves that we need it. And so hangry, I used to be the most hangry person, and I hated that. I would be like, oh dude, I'm so irritable because I need my food, and okay, I have goals and I need to hit times, and I'm lifting, and I need protein intake and all my macros, and I'm like, whoa. And then realizing that I can fit all of my goals into my week and still have this break for myself that also gives me kind of a gut reset. Yeah. Because my stool, my whole digestive tract.
On Sundays or just in general?
Just doing it on Sundays.
Yeah.
Because that Monday, the only thing that suffers for me is my Monday morning gym energy is just a tick lower.
Yeah.
And okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Because once I know that that's a thing, I can push through. But it's the only thing that bugs me is like, okay, it's the difference between I'm pushing hundreds off the rack for dumbbell press versus not, you know?
Yeah.
And okay, that's
Ego.
fine.
Who
Ego.
cares? Yeah.
Ego.
Yeah.
Right? I'm there. I'm doing the work.
Yeah.
So not only that, but it's like a really good metabolic restart. So for, like, I have a phenomenal metabolism. I always have. And so it's maintaining those habits. I can see that once I start to ingest food again, that like, okay, let's go. And so then Monday, Tuesday, skyrocket, let's go. And it just feels like it's a pogo stick to start my week every single week. And I get fresh ingredients and I food prep all my stuff and I'm ready to go. And it's just like, I'm ready for the week. So 50-50. 50 is the actual physiological benefit of doing fasting. The other 50 is the mental benefit of it's great for my mind, to train my mind that I don't need food all the time and to not feel that way. And to also, I have a weird, like, I don't know if this is like an intrusive thought, but I have like apocalypse type. If shit hit the fan right now, I'm so ready to just like for that.
I'm in that same mindset.
And it's a really weird thing, but it's like, it's very true that like, I mean, shit can happen at anything can happen at a moment's notice. And
the bubble could always pop.
Well, and my friends, you know, we were playing like it was probably a drinking game years ago one night with my friends, and there was like a superlative that people were like, in the event of a zombie apocalypse, who would be the person that you would want?
Who are you calling up?
Yeah, and I was the unanimous pick.
Shocker.
And like, but like, I truly live myself, and you know, to try and be resourceful, and like, you know, there's book smarts and there's street smarts, right? There's like, can you really conduct yourself in this world that is scary and vicious and, you know, unpredictable, and anything can happen at a moment's notice? Are you going to keep a level head, and can you just keep moving on? And, you know, other than right now and the inability to walk, I'm pretty confident in my chances on average that, you know, if apocalypse started, that I'd be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a weird kind of intrusive thought. That
Chad Richman.
But fasting ties into it. You're like, okay, yo, if I'm not going to have food for, let's just say, days, I've done a couple 72-hour fasts. That's when you really start to learn some more about yourself. I mean, talk about like a mental struggle and a mental benefit.
I did one right before I moved back out here.
Yeah, and is that the first one you've done?
I think I did 72 is 3 days.
Yeah.
I did 60 hours.
Yeah, I've done 2 72-hour fasts. And I've done a couple like 40, 48, 50-hour fasts.
Yeah. But that's why I kind of questioned, you know, I understand the health side of things, and I really like the mental clarity, and again, how I felt afterwards was fine. I lost like the scale. There's a 10-pound difference on the scale. Again, fast metabolism and probably just what I was getting out of my system at the end point. But as a high performer and as an athlete, I couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
I felt awful.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it's that balance of like overall health, but also if you're a young performer, is it a necessity? Maybe not, but as you get older, incorporating it into your routine can be beneficial.
Yeah,
sure.
and that is I truly believe a gradual thing, right? So I started where like, okay, the first couple of times I couldn't do 24 hours, right? It was like I'd do 16 or 18 or 20, and you kind of work your way up there. But then you get to that point where, okay, I realize I can still be a high performer. Am I getting the same output? Not necessarily, but I'm still confident in my ability to go out there in a fasted state and just like, okay, I'll go ride 30 miles. Like I actually love in that supreme, you know, in that 18th hour of that fast, like, okay, I've gotten all my chores done for the day.
That's what you got to get to, I think.
Yeah, let's go for a ride. Let's go for a run.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, talk about euphoria, dude. But when you hit that, and I'm coming, so I take my bike.
Spiritual too.
It's totally spiritual. And I put my freaking headphones in, and the, you know, music that I'm listening to as I'm quite literally riding into the sunset is like the most beautiful thing in the world on a Sunday afternoon.
How do you stay curious?
How do I stay curious? That's it. It's through therapy, I would say, honestly. So, quick funny story on that one. So I read Fourth Wing book right there. It's a book series. My brother turned me on to it. Awesome series if you're into... I say that's a combination of Game of Thrones, Hunger Games, and Harry Potter. Dragons, magic. It's like also like a school vibe where they're kind of like, you know, working their way through years of school. Back half of that book, very smutty. And this is like my first experience to smut.
What is smut?
Smut is, I don't want to generalize, but I think it's true of like women's version of like written sexuality. And so usually it's like, it's in the context of a female author, and in this case it was a woman in the book, right? A female author, female narrator. So listen to this smut, and so how a woman views a man in a sexual context, I'm like, skip this, and I was like, okay, but no, wait a minute, that's thought-provoking. Women think like this. They view us this way, and that's true probably across the board.
Yeah.
And so then I went back to my therapist and I was like, yo, I want to understand, I want to dive deeper into this. I want to understand this. And the reason being is I'm curious to explore, to be a better partner eventually.
Yeah, well, you want to be what your partner wants.
Yeah. Because I'm not just going to be like, oh, well, these are my desires. Like, just, you have to conform to what I want. Yeah. And so, I feel I'm inherently curious as I move through the world, and I love seeing things and I love asking questions, and like I'm not afraid to go to a professional in any industry or space and just say,
challenge them.
Well, not necessarily challenge them, but ask them, okay, you know this thing, tell me about it. Yeah. Explain to me, how does it work?
Have you ever been in that situation and realized that this person has no idea what the fuck they're talking about?
100%.
And what is that?
Well, that's
awkward. Confrontation I would struggle with.
It turns quickly from, I would use this in the construction space all the time, and it was actually great for helping me like explore curiosity, because in construction you have so many specialized trades, right? So you have like masonry and stonework and tile work and architectural metals, and so like iron versus steel versus aluminum, like 3 different guys do 3 different things. And it's like, no, I'm not going to touch that. Well, I'll do this, but I'm not, I'm going to touch that. And so then when a designer designs something and it combines a number of elements, sometimes you have to have 5 or 6 different guys that have to like put parts and pieces together, and you have to make them all work together. And so I, as master of none, right, would have to say, I know all the parts and pieces that need to go in here, and I know who I can ask to try and do it, but I have to put that puzzle together. And so sometimes I have to go to people and be like, well, how would you make this joint, right? Or what fastener would you use? Or would you use an adhesive? Or how would you finish this thing? And I would always come to them and be curious and just basically relinquish the fact that I don't know how to do it. Tell me how you would do it. And then you realize they don't know how to do it. And then that's when, okay, now we need to challenge. Now we need to push the limits. Now we need to figure it out. That was actually part of my job that I really enjoyed, because it was like, now the real challenge begins with how you figure this out. But that's also where the time-consuming work comes into place, because when you realize that nobody knows how to do it, or you're using an exotic floor system from Belgium that nobody in the United States has ever installed before, and their installation just goes completely against everything that you would ever do in the United States, that people are like, whoa, I don't want to touch that, because then they don't want the liability of it. Yeah. And so then it's like, how do we reinvent the wheel? And that's where it gets annoying, of like, then I'm like, I don't want to reinvent the wheel. Can we please just do something that we know is tried, true, and tested and works? So it put some bumpers on curiosity for me, of realizing how can I explore it if I want to, but then at the same time too, it's like, okay, I know when I'm good, and I can just be. And so, being a general contractor, right? You are not a master builder. Yeah. You are a general contractor, and so inherently you have to be curious. And the best way that I learned when I was young, because there was always this stigma of, you're young, you don't know, I've been doing this longer than you, like, fuck you, like, why are you here? Like, and that's just true of construction. It's a lot of industries. A lot of industries, but I mean, a lot of people know this stigma about construction, and it was very real. Yeah. And so when I was young, a lot of these old guys were like, fuck you, dude, fuck you. I've been around the block. Well, not only that, but all the field guys, when I hadn't worked in the field, and then I was becoming a manager of people that worked in the field, they're like, fuck you. So you know what I did? I showed up every single day to the job site, and I would introduce myself to every single person. And not only that, I would say, why do you do it this way? I would just conceit. Yeah. Why are you doing it that way? Yeah. And it wasn't, attacking them to say, oh, no, I know a better way. Can you explain to me why?
Yeah.
Why are you good at what you're good at?
Yeah, but that's a whole nother topic of conversation, whereas just because you've done it that way and it works doesn't mean it doesn't work this way.
100%. And there's a million different ways to skin a cat, especially
100%.
in construction.
For sure.
And so, again, back to how do you remain curious? You have to be curious.
Yeah.
You have to just be open to the fact that there's so many different ways to do this. And that's what once I embrace that in life, everything gets so much easier, because it's like, again, it's not right or it's not wrong. And if you're going to yell at me saying, no, this is right. No, you're wrong. That's
Agreed.
where you're wrong.
Agreed.
And, I had my old boss, not the most recent one, but the one before that was like, why the fuck would you do it that way? And I'm like, well, no, technically, big guy code in California says that there's 3 different ways to do it.
Yeah.
You said one, I said another, which means we're both right.
Yeah.
But if you want to do it a certain way, you got to tell me that you want it done a certain way.
Is that ego? I don't know.
No, it's absolutely ego.
Yeah.
And so I feel, this is a good thing, I think, to wrap up on. When I was in therapy yesterday, I talked, there's a book that my therapist shared with me. That's You Can Heal Your Life by Hay. And I don't think that I will necessarily get this book, but it talks about different...
What is it?
You Can Heal Your Life.
Okay.
And it talks about different injuries or body parts or like things that you're dealing with, that like what's the symbolic meaning of that particular thing.
It's a loud one.
So for me, right now, I've been dealing with some stomach issues. I ate a little something and it was I felt the straw that broke my back recently with this, because like I'm here and like the stomach issues kind of sucked, but then also the knee. And so we're kind of talking about this. It's like, dude, I'm like really low energy. I haven't been sleeping. Like I've been having these stomach issues. My body really hurts right now. Like I'm struggling. That was kind of the conversation yesterday. So we looked at the knee first and then stomach issues. And so what the knee represents, pride and ego and knee problems. Stubborn ego and pride, inability to bend, fear and flexibility, won't give in. And I'm like, okay, historically, that's all me.
I've always had knee problems.
That's all me. And I was laughing, dude. I was like, wow. Because this is like, this issue, it's testing me and it's forcing me to do this. And so, the other side of that, in terms of how you are flexible and you flow. I am flexible and flowing. Forgiveness, understanding, compassion. I bend and flow with ease and all is well. And so, boom. Okay, that's literally all I have to do with this injury. That's the whole concept that I've been battling for the last 5.5 weeks. Of you just gotta be with this thing, and it has its own mind for right now. And I gotta listen to it, and I gotta be flexible with it, because my brain, and I've always said this for the last at least 5 or 6 years, my brain is stronger than my body. My brain will hurt my body because that instinct, right, that I feel you're born with. You got it or you don't. But I got it and I will go. If I can fucking crawl there, I'm gonna fucking crawl there.
Yeah.
And that was a good reminder of like, okay, let's just flow and be flexible.
I love it.
Yeah.
Brother,
I love that.
thanks for coming on the show.
That was awesome. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.